Let's have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the roll call show we're missing Councilman Zant. We do have a quorum. Let's move on to the consent agenda. And I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Been moved by Councilman Weaver to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
Been second by Councilman Dimick to approve the consent agenda. Do we have any discussion on the consent agenda? Do we have any discussion on the consent agenda? If none being, all in favor, say aye to approve this consent agenda.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion approved, all in the affirmative. New business, council candidate interviews. The way we're gonna proceed with this, we've been decided by the applications of when they applied. We will do our interviews in that order. So with the other two candidates, please go down to the courtroom while we're interviewing each. To keep everything open, honest, and fair, we'll interview each council member for each potential, each candidate individually. We will start by, we'll give the candidate up to 3 minutes to discuss why, what for everything, why they want to be a council member, and I'll just let them explain. So we have candidate Jim Litz first. Please step up to the podium. Thank you.
I think we all know each other. I'm Jim Litz, former chief of police of the town of Shoshoni, resident for 8 years. I've had 24 years of law enforcement working with small towns between Kansas and here, working budgets, so I know the budget process of small municipal areas. I know the problems they run into, lack of funding, leading certain teams, and the delicate nature with employees we have to deal with. I have that experience. I think I can bring a wealth of that knowledge to the table, with a different perspective. Not going to be a yes man. I'll take all the information, take all the debate, and make my decisions. And that's what's going to be best for the citizens, in my opinion. I'll talk to citizens. We're just not going to have to just rubber stamp things. We're going to have to look at things. And even though sometimes we may disagree, if it's for the better of the citizens of Shoshoni, then we need to do it. That's what I.
Okay, each one of the council members will ask one question of you, and you'll give time to respond to each question. Would you like to start, Councilman Weaver?
Sure.
What is your vision for our town's future?
We need to grow. If we don't, we're just gonna die in the line, just like thousands of other small towns in America right now. We have to be open to inventive ideals. How are we gonna fund this stuff? It has to be, they don't want taxes. We don't want it either. We're all property owners and we gotta pay it too.
Mhm.
So thinking outside the box to make our town grow. My children go to school here. They want to raise here. My grandchild lives here. That's what we need to do.
Councilman Demick, what's your question?
I don't have one.
Anything off the top of your mind that would work?
No.
Okay, very, very good. You know the candidate well, so, yeah. I got a question. This is an important part of governing. Can you explain to me two things? The duties, responsibilities of a city councilman and the duties and responsibilities of the mayor.
Responsibilities of this council, is that what I'm,
Yes,
to be good stewards of the citizens of Shoshoni in our town. Okay, what our actions do, when we do something in the council, good or bad, does it reflect on all the citizens when we say we're from Shoshoni? So the responsibility of a city council person is high. Another, we gotta be a little bit above the normal person because we're more under the spotlight. Everybody needs to have a civil attitude towards each other in the council, civil attitude towards their citizens. And you'd be surprised how much more can be done.
duties of the mayor. Duties of the mayor.
The duties of the mayor is to lead the town. Physically, mentally, stuff. You know, you're the figurehead. And any actions that we do as a figurehead can also cause negative feelings, negative perceptions, whether they're warranted or not. Okay, so the duties of the mayor is to help guide the council, make sure the stuff's brought forward to the council, help guide the employees, make sure things are being followed. You know, give the employees the opportunity to do their job, but be there to make sure it's corrected if it's not being done.
I believe we've all got our question in and our answers. Could you go down to the courtroom and send the next candidate up? That would be Jordan. Yeah. Jordan Whitener count. Yeah.
Hello? It's not working. Is that all right?
It's working. Yeah, it's, we're getting it here on the internet.
Okay. Anyways, I'm Jordan Whitener. As most of you know, like the reason I would like to fill the seat, the vacancy seat, is I think I bring a lot of knowledge and advocate for our youth at a high level and have helped our town grow in different ways with helping with the park, putting on events in the summertime, as well as buying a house here, building to improve our community and being an asset to such with the idea of growing the town. My company that just took a new role with is here, and we've helped, the town in many ways by giving materials to the town, concrete blocks for road closures, pylons or the orange cones. We donated the light pole to the basketball or to the park and to the rest area. So, those are some things that me being involved with the town, I've typically been at most of the council meetings. I don't make all, but I'm here on a regular basis, I would say. I also think that I have a knowledge of technology and, pretty efficient in various programs that I can also add some, some insight to, but majority of anything, I think I have deep roots planted here, as my wife teaches here, most of you know. But at the end of the day, I think that I can be a clear-cut mind, make the decision that's best for our town, and also be a diffuser in some situations. Obviously, I can always, downfall, I can obviously be an instigator too, but on the council, I definitely could serve a seat as being a diffuser with, as you've seen the last couple of meetings I made, the speech I wrote to diffuse the frustration we had amongst council against each other. I've done everything, in my power to help this town move forward. I think that speaks for itself. I didn't come with no prepared speech today. And sit at home, sit down and ponder all this. I think the council knows what I can bring to the table. That's something that I'm not gonna play a doctored script and play that role. I'm gonna be a different approach today and just be straightforward, and that's what the council sees as an asset. See it for who I can be.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, Will Weaver, your question.
What is your vision for the town's future growth?
My vision is obviously we need more homes, more businesses. Without homes and businesses, for those people that move in to work at, it's pretty hard to grow. So, we can do some small growth like there has been so far, like the medical clinic. That's not small, but those things are assets to grow. But to continue to grow, we have to have homes to live in, obviously, and there's not many to choose from at this moment. And then with that, you have to increase jobs. And so you have to invite businesses to plant stakes here, whether they live here immediately or long-term. They say, hey, we're going to start a business here. And then, within 5 years, we're going to settle here. So the idea is you gotta have homes to do that. So the big thing is homes and businesses.
Mike doesn't have a question, so I'm gonna ask you a question that's, what's your understanding the duty, responsibility of a city councilman and also the mayor, because they're intertwined?
So as a city councilman, the best thing I can tell you is that the duty is solely to serve for the people. Obviously, this is an elected position, but it's to serve for the people and to make a decision based on what's best for the community and the direction of whether it's moving forward or it's just a simple, decision between whatever the situation is. It's what's best for the town and the people that live in this town. As far as the mayor, the thing is to work simultaneously with the same mindset in unison. Granted, there's going to be conflict, but conflict brings growth. And so, the idea is to work simultaneously to help the town constantly move forward with the mindset of the people of the town.
Okay, can you go ahead and go downstairs and send up?
Yep.
Next candidate?
Hi,
Please go ahead.
my name's Tammy Hardkey and I've applied for this position and there are questions you'd like to ask me?
We would just like for you to give us the reasons you applied and
Well, I'd like
what
to,
brought you to apply and what,
well, I'd like to see Shoshoni keep moving forward. And I think I could help with that. When you guys have functions, I always try and get you guys a donation that you need. Sorry, I'm nervous.
don't be. There's only 348,000 people watching. Go ahead.
I just think that we're doing a good thing with Shoshoni and I'd just like to be part of it. And it's just when I moved here 13 years ago, there used to be a restaurant, there was the Desert Cafe, the Yellowstone Drug, all through the house, fast lanes, 3 bars, the bait shop. And what do we have now? We have fast lanes, we have the 1 bar, a clinic. So let's move it back. We need a restaurant. It's nice to sit down and talk with people. You know, that even the farmers that come in here, and you know, it's nice to go in there and just listen to their stories. Those guys.
Oh, you're good.
Bo, what's your question to the candidate?
What's your vision for the town's future?
I'd like to see it like the 3 R's, real estate, retail, that brings in revenue. And revenue helps us.
You know, Councilman Demick has chosen not to ask a question.
Are you scared of me?
You didn't ask a question for
I don't
anybody,
bite.
but I do have a question for you. Could you explain to me your understanding of the duties, responsibilities of a city councilman and also the mayor? Because
The city councilman keeps on ordinances and budgets and makes sure the town is running right. That's what I've seen from watching councils. The mayor is a day-to-day operation of the town, and he represents the small town functions. And other things I can really tell you. That's just what I've seen coming in here and watching.
okay. Very, very good. Would you go back down to then, and we'll, once we select a candidate, we'll go down and
All right, thank you.
I've told
What?
you guys this before, how you all determine how to nominate is up to you. The statutes are extremely skating out how you nominate. Yeah, the council, the mayor, government body decides how to nominate.
right.
That's about, I wish I could give you more direction than that. Your statute, your code, and statutes.
Yep. Any comments, Mike, that you'd like to make?
I don't entirely know how we choose. I mean, if we didn't know anything about them and you just went off from their answers, everybody's more or less, I would say, kind of equal. As a group, I think it'd be nice if Bob was here. I don't know where Bob's at. It'd be nice if we had the input of all of us deciding how to do that.
I would surely appreciate it if Councilman Zent was here and would really like to have his input. He hasn't contacted me to let me know why he's not here. I have no idea. Anybody have any contact from Councilman Zent? But have no idea. I really would have liked to have his input.
So honestly, I look at it and I think of the candidates that we have, there's a part of me that senses some conflict as a group. I don't know what we can say in public, what we're not supposed to say in public.
No, that's why we're going ahead. Yeah, that's why we decided to have this, and we're trying to be transparent, to have this done, everything in the public. I guess we could have went behind scenes and kicked some stuff
Sure.
around, but this is a special meeting with no comment from the audience. I didn't explain that earlier. And we can't discuss basically anything except what's on our agenda. We can't veer off our agenda on anything on a special meeting. So we're doing this, to answer your question, how we're going to choose when we get done this talking. I'm going to ask from the floor, someone nominate a candidate. And we'll see if that candidate gets a second. Gets a second, we go under discussion again, we vote. And if the candidates voted in, that's our next candidate that we've chose this in a public, open meeting. Does council see anything wrong with that? What I've just stated?
I've said it before.
Yeah.
It's up to you how
Correct.
you as a body decide to nominate someone.
Sure. But
So what happens if we don't? If we go through the three and we don't come to terms, do we start over again? Or do we put it out for-
we would have to address that. But yeah, if we don't, we have to, a majority of the governing body has to agree on a nominee, or that nominee is not chosen.
So I'm just wondering, let's just suppose we don't get ourselves to an issue. Let's say both says, whatever both says. I forgot. You nominate somebody and you call for a second. I don't second anybody. 1, 2, 3. I mean, it would put us into a stalemate of saying, do we put this to the next meeting when Bob was here, or?
I'd like my counsel to answer
I
that.
wanna double check this, but I believe it's a quorum of who's at.
Yes.
But what I was saying is, if you don't get a second, if there's only, or if I nominate and he doesn't want a second,
My point being is it comes down to, I'm gonna double check here real quick, but I believe it is the quorum of who's at the meeting.
Well, maybe exactly what I explained to do might not be correct. I may not need a second. Or the council doesn't need a second. I might be wrong.
I don't. I think if we look at the candidates, I feel like it's because we know so much about everybody in a small town. So So my feelings is there's some friction, whether that was between me and somebody or friction between you and somebody, or like, I feel like there's just kind of a, I mean, I understand we got what we got, but as a group, how do we come to terms on?
Well, in my opinion, I won't say who right yet, but we kind of have a wild card in next three too, though, I think. That hasn't really.
Yeah, well, I'm in agreement because they all kind of have a wild card in their own way. You have some that are very active, some that are very passive, some that have much more history, some that have. And so that's what I mean is as the group, when you're saying, so who do you want sitting next to you? Who's going to do the best for the town? Who's going to get along? I mean, and I guess that's what I'm asking myself. Is it better for that person gets along with us as a group to create some coherency and trying to help us push things forward? Or is it better that they get along with more of the townspeople?
Well, there's one that I can say that I really don't know a whole lot about, just because besides being here a few times, I've never even bumped into the individual at even the gas station. So I don't know. That's the one I'm saying is kind of a wild card because I haven't had any friction. I don't believe you've had friction. So that's my guess. You know, I don't know. I'm waiting to. So nobody knows where Bob's at?
I don't have his phone number either.
Yeah, we went over this last week.
I texted a friend to see if they could send it to me and they did not. Didn't respond.
You know, the town does not have Councilman Zent's cell phone number.
But I think the three of them, while we're waiting for him, I think they all, for the most part, said about the same things. The goal is to push the town forward. I don't think anybody necessarily went into how we're going to do it as far as other than we'd like business or we'd like growth, we'd like houses, or we all like these things, but how we get to do that is kind of everybody's challenge. I think the three of them have demonstrated that they are somewhat involved in the community in very different, kind of their own different ways. You got age gap, you got some that are more involved in school because of family, some because of kids, some that are more community event related. I don't believe any of them have been in a council in their previous time outside of Shoshoni either. I don't think.
Not
Not that they.
not to my knowledge. Someone mentioned that they had that experience. So my concern, because there can be a council member really knows what they're getting into and has a little bit of understanding the interaction between the mayor and the council and how that works and more of the mechanism that can be a learning process. So to me, that's fairly important. And
I think it was a good question because it tried to almost like create some boundaries. Like this is your job and this is my job.
yeah, correct. And then we all have a job, for the betterment of the town to work together, because the mayor is not only also the CEO, sort of figurehead, kiss the babies and all that stuff
Take
type thing. Yeah,
pictures.
take pictures, that sort of thing. But he's also part of the legislative body that also works on budgets and everything else. That would be somewhat different than further up the, like the governor and stuff like that. They're more separated, but town councils, the mayor, anyway, in our system is also part of the legislative branch. So he does two things, but sometimes there's a confusion about that. One thing.
No candidate's perfect, that's for damn sure.
Right.
None of us are.
We just gotta try and figure out who's best for our town. You had some good questions. I wish you would have threw one of those at him. Those were good.
I misunderstood the email, so I was surprised when you say, "What's your question?" I had thought that you were going to that you were going to ask. You had a question to ask them, and
Why, I apologize.
well,
I meant everybody gets one question.
uh-huh.
Well, I would say that there's, at this point, there's nothing that stops us from bringing them back up.
Ask him a question.
No, there is not. There's
Well, so
nothing.
that, and
You take 5 minutes to think about it.
Because
Good question.
I agree. I think we've got
There's
three
some questions right
candidates.
now, so they have no idea.
so if I was knowing what I know now, if I was to ask a question, my question would be, how do you feel, or do you feel you conflict with the council?
We can bring them up and ask them.
But I don't know if it's a question we want to go down that road.
That's up to you, Councilman. You're allowed.
Well, that's what I
to-
mean. That's the group, and that's kind of what he's figuring out. If he says we got to make a decision, then maybe we do, or maybe we don't need to ask that question. You know, what if they conflict with you or with you? Should that be part of our decision making?
I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. There's. Yeah,
I mean, I wish I could ask questions. I have lots of questions I would ask, but that's not my decision.
No, but that's what I wonder, because I get your position on it, but you also have to deal with or work with whoever's selected as well. And
Yeah,
so do we take that into consideration since someone's going to?
I mean, obviously, if I had my perfect counsel would be somebody that agreed with everything that I said and did everything that I thought was we should do. That would be what I would want. But I also know that groupthink is a very bad thing where everybody thinks the same thing. And you have no
Correct.
divergent thought.
Mhm.
And so my best experiences in life have always been with having someone as a different perspective, right or wrong or different, that gives me a different course of thought. And usually I come up with a better solution in the end because of that. And that's, I don't know if that answers what you were trying
Sure.
to go for or not, but that's the way I look at it.
no,
I don't know the answer, but I certainly wouldn't want somebody that wouldn't ask any questions or have a slightly different viewpoint on something, but willing to work on a final solution and a compromise of one side or the other. And I think that is kind of what you're suggesting, I guess, I think.
It is, because it was said, we're not looking for a bobblehead or a yes man type thing,
no,
but having extreme aggression on the other side
Would be just as bad.
would be just as bad, because you won't get anything done. I mean, don't get anything done.
So frame it into a question, I'll bring it back up and maybe that'll help.
You guys know how to frame that question?
I guess it would be revolve around what is your independence as far as thought processes, something that along those lines, if that's what you're trying to get their true impression on would be, if you're asking me that question, where do I stand on something? If you ask me a single individual question, it's not that, it's fundamentally, where do you stand? Are you able to look at something and provide input on it that might be different than someone you agree with normally, irrespective of your allegiances or whatever to one side or the other? Can you be that person that is an independent thinker and ask the critical questions that need to be asked before making a decision, but not do so in a way that is, you're doing it for show, but you've already made your decision. You're not trying to compromise. You're just trying to obstruct.
I like that question. How do you?
Basically, Mike, what you're saying, the candidates are pretty equal. You're trying to get a question that would separate.
Well, that's what I
That's
feel
right.
like. If that's, I mean, like I said, if I'm on my own on that, then that's one thing. But depending on what your two's input is, as far as, you know, what's your preference? Maybe you want a yes man, maybe you want extreme conflict, maybe, you know, what.
No,
I think we as a group have differences. We understand that. And the best meetings we have are when we do what Chris had just said there, is you're able to say, this might be where I fundamentally think. However, I left that over here and this is for the good of the whole. This is the community we're looking at instead of
yes,
our own
Perfect
bias.
example was on Buddy's equipment. You fundamentally personally didn't want to necessarily get new stuff. You were more on used stuff, things like that, just personally. But you also understood the utility in the process as presented, and you came up with a really good plan that,
That's how we do it.
and right, that's exactly what you're saying. I think that you exhibited in that situation right there.
So how do
we need someone that's open-minded.
So I guess, can you take you'll be presented with questions or help me out here, Marshall. You'll be,
I was in the middle of trying to answer.
he's an attorney, sorry. I guess to try and help you formulate your thoughts, maybe something along the lines, you know, when you're presented with a proposal that you may personally disagree with in your personal life and your experiences, can you still be how would you approach that? Yeah, how would you approach that in discussions on coming with a solution and just see what they say?
The betterment of the town.
So that's a pretty short question. And I think that would allude to getting an answer that maybe would answer what you're ultimately trying to get, or the question you're trying to get the answer to.
Does something that I don't want to waste time. Does that type of question help you two at all in your decisions?
If someone, if someone's closed mind, I would not want that person to be a council member.
But I mean, as far as if we ask them the questions again, like I said, I don't know if this should if this should be a 30-minute debate, if this should be a 5-minute debate or question, or if we should be done already.
I figured 3 hours, so.
But yeah, you know, if you got a question to ask all three the same, we'll bring them up and we'll treat them just like the other. I think that's fair to help you make a decision. And
I'd like to hear the responses.
yeah, I think it'd be
Do you guys
good.
have any other questions for him?
Can we ask anyone?
Yeah, this has to be the same. Well, the rules that Joel came up with was the same question to everybody, so it's fair to them.
I guess if they don't want to answer, they don't have to. They could pass on the question. Yeah.
But just not asking them one candidate, one question, one the other question, that would be kind of unfair, but
I guess that'd be my overall goal is finding.
I don't, there's probably nothing to prevent us if the decision is that tough, just like you to ask another question if we need that to help separate the three.
So my feeling as a group is we struggle with conflict as a group. So would not want to, if we can have the opportunity to not bring more conflict by having the discussion, I think the town would be better off down the road because we've got to work together as a group. And so if conflict is our struggle, I guess I would say that my struggle is I want to, then if we phrase that to three candidates, say, well, you know, how do you guys feel about conflict? Are you conflicted or not conflicted? Or
I'm tired of conflict.
like I said, we take half our meeting being conflicted and the other half doing what needs to be done.
No, sure. I don't see anything preventing us from all asking another question if needed.
No. and I
'Cause
got
it
the
should-
answer to your other question.
Okay.
So looking at your town ordinance. Statute. You have that for, section 120, section 20-22. That filling a vacancy that has occurred more than 180 days after the last town election has to be by a majority vote of the town council. So
Okay,
it doesn't say by a majority at this, it just says by a majority of the town council. So
okay,
if I was to read that strictly, I would say that would mean by majority of the actual
okay,
governing body.
yeah. Correct. Yep, yep.
Question, if we're getting another question, ask him, should he ask two? We'll be on our second one, you would be on your first.
Autumn.
If you want one, I just want to make sure that, that way it's fair, you know what I mean?
No, I'm
Okay, you're good.
like, I'm from the, we all know who they are.
Sure.
And that's where my goal is to not make a biased decision. I wouldn't want,
Okay.
because you got three people, we got
Sure.
to shake hands at the end of this stuff and say, well, why didn't you pick me? Why didn't you pick me? And that's why I wonder if it comes down, if I can say I make my decision based on who's going to conflict with us and them
Sure.
at least, based on what we do know, because some we know more, some we know less.
So there's one, I don't know, Evan, just don't know why.
Well, should, let's,
I can bring them back up in order.
yeah, I think so.
Oh, you got it, buddy?
Ask me last on the question. That's what
Are you applying?
That,
Jim, we got another question or two for you. This, of course, is not an easy process to choose from 3 qualified candidates. And so we got a question. Mike's got a question at this time.
So our goal is to strive for unity and conflict resolution as a council and town. So my question to the candidate is, how are you able to set aside personal feelings or agenda to avoid conflict with the group in an effort to move the town forward?
there's that question I actually have to answer. How do you want to move down forward? If you're always bickering back and forth about small things, that tunnel vision sets into place. Then all you start worrying about is hurt feelings. And then that's where we have to consciously say, this is bigger than us personally. We need to start making conscious decisions on how we're going to affect the town and the people. Because in 10 years, if we don't do nothing, and the population is down, how's that? We have to just personally decide what we want to do. And me personally, so a lot of times you just have to not take it personally. Go with it, let it roll.
I got an additional question for you. Pardon?
Yell at me, I'm used to it.
Yeah, okay. Jim, I got a personal question, another question. How would you move the town forward? Our last census was 471 in Shoshoni. We don't want to see that continued decline that's been going on here in the last 10 years. My question to you would be, how would you move the town forward to help us grow? What would be what would you do? What's your vision? What do we need to do to help the town grow?
One, we have to have infrastructure. We don't have a lot of it. How can we ask a business to come in and grow with us? We don't have roads, sewers, basic necessities to get a business up and running. We have to be open for it. We can't turn down any business. We have to be able to say, sometimes step out of that box, as I was saying earlier, the earlier question, and think of a unique way of making it happen. But if we're not being inviting in business investment, people either investing in the businesses that already exist, building a new one, building homes that citizens can afford, that's where a positive attitude comes out of everything.
Councilman Weaver?
If you have an idea that you think is really gonna help the town move forward, that you're passionate about it, you just, and we gotta get this through. But let's say there's a bunch of conflict. Yeah, that's gonna happen, no matter who's on here, one of us could have an idea, the other people aren't gonna like it. But you know it's the right thing to do, and you just really want it to happen. Do you push to try and make this thing happen? Because you know it's the right thing to do, or you just cave because of conflict?
Yeah, try to make it out. I mean, that's just, I want results. They're not always gonna be 100% my results. You gotta get that out. So you gotta learn to negotiate together, mediate. I would think like Shoshoni needs a grocery store. How can we make that happen? Me personally, I'd be willing to pay a little bit more than what I pay Walmart and Smith, just so I wouldn't have to drive on a bad weather day or something someplace else. Where's that tax dollar going? So that would be a passion of me. Okay. But how do we make that happen? We have to come together. We have to meet in the middle there. You know, a lot of times it's got to give and take. And I'm not saying throw out the baby with the bathwater on that. And I won't compromise my core beliefs.
That's what I was wanting to know.
Yeah, that's not what I'm gonna compromise. What I get is like, this has to happen this way.
Mhm.
Let's get it done this way. Okay. Now that roadmap, to get it done that way. The like better term streets of San Francisco, zigzag. But let's get it done in the right ethical way. You know. And that way, when the council comes up, somebody asks that question, none of us will have any forms of standing up and say, yeah, we were part of this.
Councilman Zent, do you have a question for candidate Litz?
No.
Kate, would you go down and set up the next candidate?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This has not been an easy decision with the quality of candidates we have here. Councilman Demick got a question for you.
Okay.
And a few other, Will.
Yeah, you bet.
In our effort to create unity amongst the council and town, as we strive to dissolve conflict amongst us and them, how are you able to set aside your own personal feelings and or agenda to conflict or to avoid the conflict with groups?
I'm able to set it aside by working together and collaborating amongst a group. to make a clear, like I said, a clear decision and work together for the town. But put this aside and put any differences you have up here to do what's right, based on morals, values, and clear thought process. And, you know, also be in communication as to how we can reach a common ground. Because not everybody's gonna have the same vision, but you can give a little, take a little, if you want.
I have a question for you. Vision, move the town forward. How do you see the city implementing that? How's what you see that we need to move forward? Our last census was 471. 27% drop over the last 10 years. We need to reverse that. You know, how do you see, what are we going to do to change that?
Well, like I said before, when I was up here, the only way it's gonna change is you have to have businesses to attract people to move here. If you have no business to grow, to provide people jobs, you know, this is a crossroad, but it's not a landing destination. I get it's a busy intersection, but the more enticing the town can become to the eye, appearance, as well as jobs and homes, then, you know, the town needs those three things to grow. Without those three things, it's pretty hard to just say, come move to Shoshoni. Where are you gonna live? But I look at the senior center. I know from being on council meetings, there's, Chris, can you attest to how many are on the waiting list? I think the last time I was here, I had something like 12 or 14.
9.
9 now. That's still quite a bit for a little town like this, and that's just the senior center.
Senior housing.
And how many of them would like to live there but don't even call, right? I mean, so I think, you know, I think the number one thing is obviously businesses and homes. Without either, they can work simultaneously.
Councilman Weaver? Question for the candidate?
Yeah, if you have an idea that's going to help move this town forward, do you cave because there's conflict, or do you push because you know it's the right thing to do for a town?
I'll do what's right for the town. Okay, it's, you know, I'm not gonna answer the question in the whole, but it's for me, I'm gonna do what's right for the town. If that means push forward because that's the best interest in the town, I'm gonna do what's right for the town. If it means you gotta kind of humble yourself back and swallow the hard pill because it's what's best for the town and what's best for the future of the town, then you gotta swallow the hard pill. So again, kind of the question that I answered before, it's a give and take basis. You gotta collaborate, give a little bit. There's okay to have friction because that helps growth. Nobody's grown because you don't come back and your boss say, you know what, you're perfect. Okay, how the hell do you get better, right? So you have to have flaws, and if you don't have flaws, there's something wrong. So the issue is you have to be able to have room to grow. So to grow, you got to have a little confrontation, a little friction, and that's okay. But it's also doing it in the right aspect. I mean, screaming matches, you know, stare downs, those things can't happen, especially amongst the city council. So that's that give and take basis. And when you have clear cut information spread to the town and directives being, you know, you're keeping the town in the loop per se, that, you know, that's a bonus to help the town move forward. But I mean, you have to work together. I mean, when you come in here, you got to put your I don't like you hat down, work together with the best interest moving forward. Once that's over with, you can put your I don't like you hat back on and walk down the street. When you're here and you're making decisions for the town, that's got to be done by the way.
Councilman Zent doesn't have a question for you. So can you go down and send up the next candidate? Thank you. Thank you for coming up again with the quality of candidates we have. It's not an easy decision. So we want to ask a few more questions. Councilman Demick has one for you to start off with, but you didn't scare him off, no.
I didn't.
I learned the rules of the game were different.
Oh,
In our effort to create better harmony amongst the group of council, how are you able to set aside your own personal feelings and or agenda to avoid conflicts with a group of either of us here or of a them?
I think everybody needs to sit down and talk quietly and try to figure out what the problem is. And if we can work it out, if not, maybe save that person, step back and let the others figure it out. But we all have to work together.
I have a question for you also. Moving the town forward, our last census was 471. We lost 27% of our population. We need to probably, I think you want to reverse that. Do you have any ideas on how the town, how we would do that? What's your ideas on what we can do to move the town forward?
I think if we look at real estate and retail, that's gonna help people have jobs. It's gonna also have places to live, because like I drive to town every day to work. But there's a lot of people that don't have cars. And if you could, get them places to rent here and more jobs, I think we'd get more people. Because it is a nice community.
Councilman Weaver. Question for the candidate.
If you have an idea that's going to help the town move forward, do you cave because there's conflict, or do you push because you know it's the right thing to do for the town?
I'm gonna push. You've seen that out of me already. If I feel it's something good, because we have 3 different stages here. We've got kids, we've got adults, and we've got elderly people. We got to look at all 3 of that group. They're not all gonna be the same wants. But we got to figure it out for all of them.
Thank you. Would you go back down and till we call? I appreciate it. Any thoughts from the council? Those questions help, or we still in a quandary, or?
I feel like I want the answer. You want that golden ray of sunshine. I say, oh, that was a great answer. Versus, but it's equally fair to say, well, this is the position. I mean, me being personally, this is the position that we're in, and all you can do is say the hopes of, it'd be nice to have a grocery store, it'd be nice to have a restaurant, it'd be nice to have these things, but I understand your question at the same time. You're saying, so how do you do that?
Correct.
Well, I'm going to run to Casper and go talk to Texas Roadhouse and see if they're interested. I mean, it's a very proactive response versus odds are it's not going to happen. But I feel like that's kind of what it's looking at, is trying to get more to the heart of it's the how we're going to do it. And like I said, it might not be their job. I mean, that's not what we're asking to do, but that's what it looks for.
Yeah, one of the things definitely is housing and infrastructure. We definitely gotta have that to attract business. We gotta have the infrastructure for them, and we also need housing for employees. Without that, it's hard to bring. I know if we'd had the infrastructure ready, we'd have landed lobby industries here, would have brought 20 jobs to Shoshoni. We didn't have the infrastructure, couldn't build it fast enough. but they were very, very interested. And part of the reason, to be honest, was our great school system. They're very interested in having their grandkids go to school in Shoshoni. That was one of the things they were looking at. They liked the location. It might have worked, but it's just, we couldn't develop things fast enough to make them happen. But we had this sewer line and stuff already ran, and sewer and water available for them, and was working on some housing. You know, they were very interested in moving to Shoshoni.
Well, that helps the school and the town if you got more use going in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just spoke with them over the new houses that are being built over there from Confidence Builders, and they were excited to hear about what was going on over there because it's also a selling point to bring in more teachers. You know, that there's, you've got some, you know, a couple of new homes in Shoshoni instead of.
I think it's important we get more teachers living here and
I
stuff.
think it's huge.
I think in 1976, when they allowed Harold Bailey to live outside of district, was sort of a start of a downturn. Before, they used to require teachers to live in district. But anyway, that's,
I can
but
say-
we gotta have housing for them. We don't have housing.
I can say tonight, I pretty much had a good idea on who I wanted to get in there. Out of the three. But after this next set of questions, I've changed my mind on where I'm gonna go. So I think those are the questions that help.
So it's the goal to get someone, so if our feeling is housing and, because I think as a community, we have better odds of doing housing or general appeal. That's something we can do instead of waiting for, it's like the business side of it sounds really nice, but unless we're going to go start something.
Cool.
So it comes back to, so do we choose a candidate who we feel is going to help propel the housing? I mean, if we're going to fail on something, at least if we fail on housing, great. I mean, it was a job well done. The community can appreciate trying to get upgrades or more available. Is that?
Well, that's
We
good.
don't have a
What
housing
Confidence
developer.
Builders is doing right now is just a great thing. What we hope to do on that 40-acre plat next to Shoshoni, we hope to develop that for city employees and other people, city employees, school employees. You know, we might, you know, there's still option. We're working through that, but that also housing would help. And what Confidence Builders are doing is really great. Really support them on that. I don't know what their specs are for sure, but for me personally, that's a key thing. That's something I've tried to champion. So I believe that's an important thing to move forward. It's
Well, they'll change their plans on those homes too. I spoke with them on that and they said, there's different design if you want to fish. So it's not just, this is what we're doing and this is what.
cookie cutter, no.
Yeah. So that part's good. But like I said, out of the three questions, I think the person answered two of them that helped my a little bit more. So I have changed my mind.
So do we as a council know what we want in a candidate? I mean, if you could say, this is what we want as a group, is that how these decisions can be made? If you say, we want a person that has a background in this, we want a person who's demonstrated this, or we want a person who has a clean yard, or
I'm just looking at it as a person. I'm looking at a person that is gonna help move the town forward. In my opinion, I'm hoping that it works out. If we all get along a little better, and he's been better lately, so that's, you know, that's a great start. You know, maybe if we get someone new on there and that'll work with both of us, I'm down.
I mean, I think have somebody that's open-minded, that you can make a legitimate argument about, and they can look at it, whether they initially personally believe in it or not, but where they can openly minded and look at what's for the betterment of the town. Put away any personal differences between individuals. When you put your councilman hat on, you're a councilman. You don't have to send each other Christmas cards or go eat supper at each other. You don't need to do that. Yeah, don't need to go to the same church, don't need to do none of that, but do what's best for the town of Shoshone when when the decision making. And if I have an idea that I may think is the best for Shoshone, maybe it's not. But it would be up to me to convince at least 2 council members that my idea has merit. If I am unable to do that, and that's happened in the past, unable to do that, then that gets voted down. The same with any councilman has an idea that they think is good for Shoshone, they need to convince 2 other councilmen to agree with them. And so as long as there's 3 councilmen or 2 councilmen, well, however that works out, as long as there's 3 votes, you can move forward, but it's up to that person, council member, to convince this is the way we should go or not go, as it is myself. So we just, I think, need someone that can be the open-minded and can do what's right for the town, that that has interest for the town, improve our looks. I think that's a big part also, I don't know. That's for me.
Do you have any input?
I'm still thinking. I don't have an answer right now.
Okay.
Well, do we think that we have one of the 3 that would meet the criteria? Anybody suggest one of the candidates?
Are you gonna go in alphabetical order with them or just?
Just one that you feel or Mike feels that might meet the criteria. Bring their name up, we'll talk about it.
Well, mine that I'm looking at right now, I don't know a ton on, but I like your answers, would be Tammy Erk. I don't have much for anything with ties with her. I've probably seen her in public twice and never been to each other's houses. She's been at a few council meetings. I would probably say, I don't know, 4 or 6 of them. I've seen her here. That's the first time I ever seen her. That wasn't who I was going to, but I think that it might be a person that might go on either side on issues. I think she's got her own mind, and if she doesn't like what I'm going to say, she's going to tell me. Didn't like what Derek's going to say, she's going to say something. So that's the person that interests me.
I like that she strikes me as the least aggressive of the group. I'm not saying passive so much, but more on the passive side than the aggressive side, as far as teachable, trainable, able to learn, able to say, I'm nervous. What do you guys want me to say? My name's Tammy.
Yeah.
This isn't AA meeting. It's just, here we are. I like those qualities about it as well. I think Jordan's very passionate about pushing the town forward. I think he's demonstrated some things in the community that he's followed through with, that he wanted to do. He's been to the meetings. He said, let's get it done. And he's got it done.
That's where I was at.
He's a little more aggressive on, this is my idea and we're gonna get this idea. So I wonder how it comes down to, well, what if we don't like your idea? At what point are you willing to let it go and say, all right, no hard feelings. I left my hat over there. But I think his heart is in the place of, he wants to do what's best for the town.
I think he's got a good future with the town, to tell you the truth. But I just right now just trying to see how this works with all of us.
As a group.
It might be our best way right now.
I think Jim's side, he has a lot of governmental experience based on his background, his military, his police. I mean, I don't know all the stuff that he's done. I think he's more aggressive as well, as far as if he's got an idea, he wants that idea to go as well. I think age group wise, he fits in with the group better than myself or Jordan. We're a little
No,
young.
we,
bucks.
we don't have, mind having a kid on the council.
Like I said, I think that there again, as the three of them as a group, I think they're very similar things. They can also all built home, or they all have homes here in this town. They've all lived here for several years. I mean,
They all got kids.
they got kids. They're demonstrating they want to be here. You know, their yards are taken care of. I mean, just these little things that say it's evident they want to push the town forward based on their own individual actions.
One thing that I like is we've seen some people come out of their comfort zone and not worried about getting this person upset that I've known for 20 years because I want to do things this way, or getting this person. And we've had people come out trying to get on that are doing it anyways. And that's what I want to see, is just not necessarily the same people day in and day out trying to get these positions, new ideas, new faces. You know, I think that's huge. So I think that's a big thing. I'm hoping more people that have never been involved get involved. You know, even new families that are coming in. I don't care if they're new families or they're families that have been here forever. Just new ideas. I mean, it's like term limits in Congress. Good Lord, we all know we need that. You know, we need new ideas coming all the time instead of just the same stuff. So that's what I was happy with tonight, because there's new ideas, whether they're right or wrong, they're new ideas.
Sure. And I like the ideas as well. And that's where I come to the action side of it. Come with the idea and an action. It doesn't have to be a phenomenal plan, but it's because that's where, you know, the public is always welcome to come to any meeting and say, this would be a great idea. And we get to say yay or nay, or, you know, you've had your 3 minutes and we move on. But I find the ones that are saying, this is my idea, and this is what I've done with my little brain to this point on it. And we might say, you know, that is a good idea. Or maybe you can say, you know, I didn't know that, or yes, that falls in line with grants we could look at. And just, it's one step more proactiveness.
Because we've had good conversation on this whole thing tonight, and I think that's what the general public needs to see. So maybe people will get out of their little safety net and get more involved.
We want to
we need it.
encourage that.
We want, like I said, whether it's for stuff that they like what I'm doing, or, you know, you got an idea and I don't like, but they like yours. I don't care. Just let's get some. We need more townspeople involved, just flat out. You know, people that haven't been involved. I mean, there's people that have been involved that still have good ideas, but man, I just want to see some more new people.
The part that impressed me about Tammy was when she came to council, I don't know, 6 months ago, last summer, whenever, we talked about putting an alligator out in her swamp in front of her house. She did it politely. She brought the point out, and she made her point clear by using, I mean, she did a very well job explaining her problem. I don't know if there's, you know, there's still, it hasn't rained, so there's still, I don't know if there's any alligators left or not, but Buddy knows what I'm talking about.
Alligators.
Yeah, okay, the alligators.
I got a call on it.
Okay. That's the part that I stood out for me on Tammy, was her ability to explain things, say, this is the situation, this is how I'm dealing with it. What are you going to do with it? To me, that was a strength for her when I saw her speak out publicly on an issue that affected her. Jordan, as you said, has been involved a lot. He is quite forceful, as you said. So is Jim. So.
Yeah, be honest, I don't know the least about Tammy as the other two said Jim has a lot of governmental experience, probably has things he could add that would be a positive. Yeah. Jordan is, I'll say I respect Jordan. Jordan and I have been nose to nose and toes to toes on several issues and disagreed. But that's not a bad thing. He's very pro Shoshoni, he's been very active, volunteering time, volunteering equipment, has worked very hard for the town of Shoshoni. And I also feel deserving of a council seat. But I will say that Tammy, I believe, as Jim, and also cares about Shoshoni. She may be the calming that we may need at times for the council, and I could support her. But I believe she's someone that come open-minded, and not saying the other three wouldn't, but she maybe, you said, least aggressive of the three, and Lord knows I can get aggressive enough without somebody else, but maybe.
I'd like to motion Tammy Hartke.
We can agree with this actually without going to motion, correct?
It just says, yeah, he nominates, so.
Sure.
It says by majority vote.
Okay,
That's who I nominate.
what do you think, Mike?
I'm thinking of aftermath, and I feel like if the decision came down to be said, I will say that first, I'm an aggressive. I can be passive aggressive, but if I want to be aggressive, I'm very aggressive. You can be equally passive or very aggressive, as can you. Bob's kind of our calming reason in his side of it. To add another aggressor to our group, I think could be great on if we all agree on something, as far as you got a good, strong team to go forward. But if you're divided, then we're.
Good point.
I mean, when you go back to the good of the town side, we'll never get anything done. You'll have 2 and 2 and or however it is, you just have too many jocks and not enough cheerleaders, and just good thought.
So would you support Tammy?
Yes, I would support Tammy.
Okay. Councilman Zen?
I think I could support all three of them.
Yeah, they're all qualified.
Yeah, that's, I could support all three of them. To say this is the person, that's hard to say right now. I will support her if she is selected. I can support her.
Okay. I'll support Tammy. On that, I think we came to an agreement that Tammy Hartke will be our next councilman. Agreed?
Mhm.
That's what we came up with.
That's where my vote went.
So I guess we can notify the candidates to come up, and we'll tell Tammy, we will swear her in. So she can sit. Oh, we can't, we got sworn in on this?
Yeah.
See,
Yeah, we do swearing in, and we can set her in for the rest of the meeting.
Defer to ask Chris if he has any input on the decision.
The council, I mean,
You said, I say it because you do sit at the table and you do have to interact with the individual people, appropriate or not. I mean, you could say we can't answer, but if you have any,
personally, I just, someone asked me questions, if they need clarification on whatever is being presented, or I try to answer questions and not someone that doesn't ask questions, because the idea is so that they are making an informed decision. If they don't ask me a question that they don't know, they just don't ask a question, how can they really truly? That's all I would like to see. I mean, for good or bad, hard questions are good questions. If I can't answer the hard questions, then that's something that I think is my role, to present all the information to you guys so you can make an informed decision one way or the other. And someone that would take an active role in trying to make sure they fully understand whatever they're contemplating that would influence their choice one way or the other. And also ideas. I mean, I wish I could do everything, but I can't think of everything. I've had, just this last week, I've been approached by 2 different individuals, not in town, but in Fremont County, with new ideas on things that to pursue that would benefit the town in certain ways. One is communicating with the citizens. And it's using technology and things like that, beyond what we're already doing, but more of and just having councilmen that or councilwoman or council people, or the terminology is I'm supposed to use, to help me, guide me on the direction to pursue things. And that's whatever that may be.
And we're always trying to improve our communication with the citizenry.
And people notice I've been on my phone a little bit tonight. My mom, which everybody knows, has been ill for a long time, has been diagnosed with COVID yesterday. And it's getting worse tonight. So I just would let people know that's why I was on my phone.
So again, I believe we're in agreement. For the next council person, be Tammy Hartkey. Correct me if I'm wrong with what we just talked about.
Like a unique group hug moment.
It'd be pretty embarrassing if I invite her up here and then we say, oh, no, I didn't, no. But
I mean, as
We
a
were coming
group,
to an
I
agreement.
feel like of all the things that, at least my time on the council, whether it's the eye in the sky, the audience, I feel as far as like, we're all a community. 2 people have to go home not winners. One goes home a winner, if it's what it comes down to. But at least the discussion was such of, this is what we've laid out. It's not fault finding. It's not, I don't like, it's.
But yeah, that was what we tried to, all of us wanted to accomplish tonight.
I think my feeling, as I think we did,
Do the best we can for our community at this point in time.
and it was 100% transparent.
Yes,
That's the best part.
yep.
I didn't go back and watch it too, 'cause it's on YouTube.
But anyway, Buddy, could you please ask him to come back up? Thanks, everybody, for their deliberation and honest input on this process. Not easy.
No, it was, like I said, I changed my mind tonight. And it was tough to change it too.
You got the. Okay, I would like to notify the candidates that Tammy Hartkey has been chosen to be our next council person for the town of Shoshoni. Tammy, could you come forward? And I'd like to administer the oath of office. I sure appreciate everybody's application and participation. It was not an easy decision made by the council people. But with kicking everything around, Tammy, you were selected. Then step forward here. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend
I will support and obey, defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
that I have not knowingly violated
that I have not knowingly violated
any law related to my election
any laws as related to my election
or appointment
or appointment
or cause to be done
or called to be done
by others.
by others.
And I will discharge the duties of my office
I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
I so swear.
I shall swear. Tammy Harkey.
Thank you very much. You've been sworn into office this day, 30th day of November, 2021. Thank you very much. Your term expires in January 2022.
You've got
That's
mail.
me.
Just the very.
No, I have my phone with me.
Oh.
I'll be right back
Where that was coming.
with the restroom.
Tammy. Sign off for me right there, please.
Probably what it was.
I'm not going there. It's just-
Rolling down the school.
Awesome, getting old. If you forget otherwise. That's what it is.
What am I talking about?
Not looking forward to it.
At least going to it with technology.
Need a pen?
Yeah. I got it.
They're just laying here.
Mine works.
You?
It's a thing.
You find one that works?
Yeah, we did. Thank you.
Heard you brought them.
What is this? Homeland Security job.
She can receive it, but you can't vote
You know, if there's something that needs to come out, you need to motion if it's something.
because it's a special meeting. She wasn't.
That's how you guys do it.
Started, so she can't actually.
You know, if they want
on this meeting.
And if
She
not,
can be
you
seated.
vote on motions.
Okay.
Either way, I would make motions and no one else. has.
That's what I was
So,
clarifying.
Okay.
Or someone else calls a motion, you can make a second. You just be quiet, just listen the whole time. Yeah, that's all you have to do.
Is this taking care of the meeting for next week? So we're gonna have a meeting next week.
No, it'll be 2 weeks. The second Tuesday of December. is 2
Oh,
weeks.
we had
Yeah, this was that
This is the
3-week
fifth.
period.
That's you.
On the 14th, the 28th.
Assuming we're gonna probably cancel the 20th, or do you
I don't
want?
know. We'll
We'll
talk about
cancel
the
the
round
conversation, or do we
table.
get to?
Talk about the round table.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
And there's no round table on here.
You're right. There's no round table.
You're 100%. We can't talk about anything other than what's on the agenda. So.
Correct.
Maybe we hire someone from the audience to ask, you guys gonna have a meeting on?
Anyway, let's talk about, move on with our new business. Let's talk about derelict structures. Feel free, Tammy, to bring up any questions. If you don't under anything we can do to help you. They're going to appreciate your application and acceptance of the appointment, and good to have you aboard.
Thank you.
Derelict structures removal. One thing I wanted to address is Dennis Thompson's trailer house on the west end of town. At the time, I'm sure everybody knows that he's had both legs amputated, and he's been in the hospital since towards the end of August. Hopefully he'll be home in the near future, but I don't believe that his family has the financial means to remove that trailer house. That was originally his mother-in-law's house, and when she passed away, they had to move that house off the rented lot it was on. When they did it, she had remodeled the inside, put sheetrock in it, and anyway, made the trailer house a lot heavier than the frame was designed to do. So when they moved that trailer, the frame buckled. I'd been in contact with him starting a couple years ago almost about removal of that, because it's a big eyesore. Just drive into Shoshoni. We talked about appearances as one of the things we need to improve in our town to help the town grow. That's a big eyesore that needs to be dealt with. Shortly after we talked about it, Tim had a heart attack and had to have a stent put in, and then not too long after that, his mother passed away. So we just sort of dropped that. We're just starting to get back on the table on that and discuss that issue a little more. And in August, and I think he went in the hospital around the 23rd, 4th, 5th, in that time frame of August. And with blood clots, which ended up costing him 2 legs. I don't believe they have the financial means. I'm going to propose that the town of Shoshoni, when we're doing the demolition of the Shoshoni Motel, Lip Rippers, and the old white building across from the city park of Bebop, when we tear those down, we'll do that. That's probably going to cost the town near $3,500, $3,500. I believe we'll probably cover that expense. Mike have a better idea than that for me, but I'm thinking that's sufficient money to do that. And I'd like to propose that we do that. I'd like the council's input on that.
Is that offering a service for free?
That is offering to get rid of a derelict building that's an eyesore for the community and no cost to that individual. And for the betterment of the town of Shoshoni, the town of Shoshoni would pay for that.
But my question is this: are we offering a service for free or no charge? If it's going to cost the town $3,500 to move it, are we offering a service for free?
We're not moving it. They're gonna donate the trailer to the city. The city's gonna remove it. And
Okay, you
it's
never
an
said
eyesore.
that. You never
Okay.
said that before.
Okay, yeah,
I need all the information before I.
okay, yeah, no, they're gonna donate that trailer to the city. we're gonna remove that eyesore from the town, but it's gonna cost the town $3,500, I'm guessing, or less, but in that range to do that. And they don't have the financial means to do it. Now, does the town of Shoshoni have legal means? Possibly. You drug it out over a long time to maybe make that happen. But they don't have the finances to do that. And I think it's important that we get that done in the near future. It's right on our main drag when people come into town. Or as they're leaving town, they look over to the left, they can see it. I feel it's that important, especially because of where its location is, that we deal with it. Sort of the same philosophy is why we bought the Shoshoni Motel, and in particular the Shoshoni Motel and Lip Rippers, that we need to get rid of those eyesores. And we need to do what we can to make this town look better, not only provide housing, we need to make the town look better. So if someone's driving through, they're more attracted. Our new town plaza has done it. We get a lot of comments on that. It's sort of an uplift for the town of Shoshoni. That's just continuing what we're doing. And I don't know a simple way to do that, but with the financial position that the Thompsons are in at this time, I know it's very expensive. His wife's been down there to the hospital with him ever since he went down there. I know I recently spent 25 days in Denver with my daughter, and that's not inexpensive to do that. And I'm not looking at it as a gift. I'm looking at we're a betterment of the town of Shoshoni. That's my.
The reason I asked my question
Sure.
is because I know we cannot give water to the firemen,
Sure.
which is a free service. And so you never gave all the information
Sure.
about the donation to the town and all that other stuff at first,
Sure.
which caused me concern.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we need to vote on accepting the property? How would they do that? Those type of questions I still have.
I think on my side, I think you demonstrated a lot of very valid points that apply to this individual situation. I have a concern with the next person that comes in and says, I have an old property, we tear mine down too. We had the Bebouts trailers that I guess they were forced to take them down on 6th Street.
I might have an answer to your question, I think.
I mean, that was a recent thing. At their expense, they had to come in and tear down the trailer. I don't know what the reasoning behind it was. Like I said, the feeling side of it aside, what do we tell the person, when Bear's home burned down? That's if the people come from Gillette and say, gosh, will you guys tear down? We'll donate you the house. We tear it down for us. What do we tell them?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
So one way is that we can go the route where we, through town administration, the police department, we declared a derelict building. And then we force them to either do it or that we end up doing it and then billing them for it. The other way that I'm proposing is that when someone has that, they say, ask for assistance, give me the property, and we'll talk about the price, and I'll go back through the CDBG process we acquired those two properties for, and do that way. And with ARPA money, they're getting a lot more money for those projects next. Well, I actually have a meeting this week on that. So that would be irrespective of the ARPA money, but that's what the CDBG is for. And so when those do come about, but those take a little bit of time. So if they wanted it, some of the houses, but they have to want to get rid of that property and relinquish it. But we can help them.
I personally, Mike, had a talk with Nick Bebout about and he agreed he needed to remove, he wasn't forced, he agreed he needed to clean up that stuff. If you remember, part of when we bought that old garage and that piece of land in the park from him. A part of the agreement, he agreed the building across the street needed tore down. So when we negotiated the price, it included tearing that old white building down, that the city would do that when we did our demo. But now, B2, B-Bouts are just being good citizens. And was not forced into that. They did it out of community pride and helping the town out. We had a discussion and he was in agreement. Some of those places have been vacant for many, many years. And, but they did that on their own. They weren't forced to just help the community out. We had a discussion, seeing that the town has taken proactive movements like the Shoshoni Motel, everything that's getting other people involved, wanting to help and do something. And we're trying to better ourselves. And so they're willing to help out. And that's what brought that about, but we had a pretty good conversation in our negotiation on prices and looking at that, and what we're doing with the town. And, it's,
I guess the question remains, if anybody else supposedly advertised, hey, if you got a junk structure or something you don't want and you want to donate it to the town, are we willing to do what we're willing to do for one, what we do for others? And maybe there's nothing else out there, but I feel like it would be a fair question. We ought to be able to say, well, we did his because it was an eyesore on the main drag. Yours is 3 streets in behind a tree, and sorry, we're not going to do that.
Well, I like the idea of the town being able to go after them, but my opinion on this one, I think over 3,000 or 3,500 bucks, that's going to do more good than harm by getting rid of it because of all things that are going on with the town, because it is a big deterrent. But I do want to look into it some more, and I want to go look at it physically, just take a peek at it, and just visualize everything instead of just a quick drive-by. So I don't want to do anything with it tonight, but I'd like to table it if you're looking for a vote tonight.
I'm looking for a vote.
I'll sit at the table.
No, I think that's the right thing to do. So, but if you guys want to look at it, I'll bring it up at the next meeting.
We have a decision to
Where we're talking about $3,500 or less for the betterment of the town of Shoshoni.
One of the issues I have is that trailer is not land. When we tear out the old gas station, the V-Belts or whoever, the garage by the park, whatever, there's land under that then can be developed and used. This land where that trailer sits, it still sits on private land. That town gets nothing out of it.
Correct.
The other places, we're getting where that garage is by the park, the land is there underneath, which becomes an asset for the town.
The only reason it intrigues me is because I think it'll hurt with the properties that can be developed.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing. But like I said, I just want to look at it. But I agree. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I see lots of harm coming from it just sitting there and being like that. And it'd be different. If he had money, I'd be like, no, we're going after him.
Right.
I'm the same way, correct. And
So
when him and I started, when we started the conversation, the town wasn't going to pay for it. We were discussing issues on what to get done. But financially, they're not able to do that now. And I feel it's important enough, but it's nothing, we can't wait till our next council meeting. But it's important enough, I really believe that it's in the town's best interest, an investment in our future, if you will, to remove that. We're not talking 35,000 or even 15,000, we're talking $3,500, but I feel it's important to the town that we do that. And but sure, I'd like to have a decision today, but if you want to kick it around till next meeting, we'll put it on the agenda and we'll vote on it.
And it's not an attaboy for the guy either, 'cause I personally never talked to him. I don't know. I have no
I
clue
know
who he
him.
is.
He's nice, great guy.
Yeah, I don't have any idea who it is.
I know I'd feel better. I have my own feelings about what happened with COVID money. If we went down this road, I would feel much better about the town using the town's money instead of using government money, because I feel like that would just something that was just thrown in the mix of, hey, we're gonna do this. And like I said, I feel like America has some problems financially right now. And if we could, there again, it's minuscule amounts of the grand scheme of things, but COVID didn't cause the problem. So to me, it's should COVID have to pay for that problem. Granted, if you want to drag it over and shove it into a motel over there and say, here you go, we got you a new addition. But because that's what goes back to it. If we're gonna throw it into this big grant money, then we ought to see who else has got something in town they could
Yeah.
piggyback.
That's what I'm not, that isn't what I proposed.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If it goes to the
Right.
vote, like I said, at the next
Yeah.
go around.
Okay, we can, but I did bring this up at our last roundtable.
Do we
Very
need a
subject.
motion? We-
No, we're gonna move on to Department of Homeland Security grant acceptance.
So this is the $100,000 grant through the Wyoming Department of Homeland Security for hardening of facilities for town hall, which would be the admin building. The sorry. There we go. It gives us a almost 3-year window for the monies to be expended. I'm not sure I sent them to all the council to review, but
Yeah, all 27 pages.
yeah, there was quite a few there.
I like the pictures. I'm a picture reader. That's nice.
I figured you were, that's why I included them. So this includes the security, obviously in the pictures, they had some of the articulation of what would be done as far as solidifying the facility where it would be doors, upgraded doors, key codes, so you'd have access to certain, depending on what you did there. All the facilities for town would be consolidated into one building. And also including security cameras and different requirements for this grant is specifically for the hardening of the facility to make it less applicable to, or not applicable, I guess, but less vulnerable to any kind of attack as may happen in government buildings from time to time. But it also would allow us to be ADA compliant too, which is a requirement, but it does pay $100,000 for those facility upgrades.
So based on the pictures, it seemed to be doors and windows type thing, cameras. It doesn't get into buying us office furniture.
Correct. So
Yeah.
this, like in this picture, it talks about the camera placement. It was a little pixelated scan, but and then, changing that door to be more of a secure door, not a little bit less prone to entry. Also upgrading the windows like that are currently boarded up with, again, reinforced windows that aren't easily broken into. They can still be broken, but you're not going to gain access very easily, as well as the security cameras on all the points of entry to the building.
Does it go into things like adding on to the building or removal of? We took down like a
Yeah.
remodel, but
Kind
I
of.
think to me, I feel like is there a line between this is what we're doing for our
I'm not sure.
administration building, but this is, like I said, if it's office furniture or some of these things saying,
So this would be all in the construction phase. So like here, it would replace this with an actual service counter. Oh, sorry, I thought it was on screen share. Sorry about that. I was looking at it by myself. Thank you. There we go. So, for example, the front entrance, the vestibule there would replace all of this. That would be part of the construction, making that a usable service counter, replacing the door with magnetic locking and fob access. And then over here, yeah, it's replacing that door, which would need, again, we need to replace to solidify the facility, as well as security cameras there. Again, replacing that door so it's not access to the police department, which was what this picture is. Need a little bit more. Right now, we're in the trailer house. I get that, but that would, again, be some remodel, as you were talking about, work that would need to be conducted. And then like this wall is not even a wall, so this would be completely redone in that lines. It's all about whatever creates the more secure facility would be covered, which would cover general construction and remodel as needed. So it would pay for that aspect of things. It would be done anyway.
But it wouldn't pay for a sprinkler system.
Not unless somehow we can put it with some kind of anti, terrorist agent or something, I guess, but no.
Sure, it's because it's agreement.
Does it have one in there?
It should be for code for
I
public
would
schools,
think
yeah.
so.
Oh, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
But like here, this would actually remove that wall to create a service counter there, which should again be part of remodeling. Correct that door as well as cameras, and this is the north facing in the vestibule where you go towards the
It doesn't get to upgrade the drinking fountain. So there's a line between when it goes into the remodel side. Like that's back to that. Our Homeland Security bought our drinking fountain, but we don't want to talk about that. I mean, I understand it could be lumped into it really easily, but there's that side of the integrity of this is what it was intended for.
and part of it though is that with this grant that I have to justify it. When we get into it, I have to actually give them the model, the vendor, everything of each component according to their.
Oh.
So it's not as
Yeah.
easy as that. This is just a simplistic aspect of it, but the actual, as far as reimbursement and authority to expend the monies, it has to be for the very specific aspects that meet the criteria of actually hardening the facility.
Do you have to expend it on and send in essence one request versus, so it's over a 3-year period of time. So if you were to do windows next year and you submitted a bill for 50,000,
Exactly.
then a year later you did something else.
Yeah, so if we did, replaced all the doors, and then I would put in expend that, get the request in, and then we get reimbursed. And then if the next year we did the windows, same thing, rinse and repeat. It's over that, as long as the monies are expended within that period of time, which is approximately.
It's not one of those, we will write you one check and if it's,
No, they don't just give us $100,000 and say, well, I hope you spend it on the right stuff.
or vice versa, you say, well, gosh, we only need 75,000 right now. They're willing to say, well, that's fine, we'll give you 75, but the 25 is still available
Until the end of the
until
grant
that
period.
time period.
So, that's a rough guesstimate. Just for example, those doors are about $4,000 each. I mean, they're not cheap. The magnetic locks is about $20,000 ballpark. The security system will be at about $20,000. So it's going to get close to 100,000 when it's all said and done. But if we were below that and we come up with everything's off the plan, we can supplement that and say, hey, we still got $10,000 left to spend. We got everything done that we intended to get done. Then we can do an addendum to that and add more stuff. There's other things that would meet those criteria at that point.
It's got to meet the criteria, the important thing.
But drinking
Water fountain probably.
Yeah, I mean, if I can get a armored drinking fountain that would, spew out Mountain Dew or something, and somehow that's related to Homeland Security, I'm sure we can get that.
So you need a motion to accept it?
For the mayor to accept that, be able to sign it, accept it.
Yes. Kind of a motion to accept the Department of Homeland Security grant.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Who moved? Councilman Zant, Councilman Weaver, second. We accept the Department of Homeland Security grant. What this does will allow the mayor to sign for it. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion passed in affirmative. All voted in the affirmative. Bighorn roofing payment, number one, 48,363.95. Explain that. Chris?
This is the initial payment for the senior center roofing. They pre-ordered the supplies. That's what I believe we talked about that before, where they were able to get the supplies ordered and locked in at the lower prices at the time. So this is only paying for the supplies. It's not the actual work. So it's the pre-supply list that they for the job of replacing the roof at the.
They say when they're starting,
I haven't got that date yet.
it's gonna get delivered here to their,
They have it at their facility now, so they're keeping it in-house, and then when the job starts, they'll have that.
hopefully show up and do the job.
Maybe,
I hope so.
I like that business.
potentially the director of the senior center, or not the director, this president, of the senior center, he's been involved with this quite a bit. You've been in contact with the contractor?
Some sheet metal is one of the subcontractors that will be working on that. They have ordered the materials that they'll need to reset those units on top of the building so that the rubbers can come in and adequately seal over the bases. And those bases are on order now, estimated maybe another 2 to 3 weeks before they'll be in. Same as the materials that Bighorn, but they've got theirs in now. And this was a later thing that was made aware of that they needed to order, so that's where they're at now.
So depending on the weather, they could start by early January, depending on weather.
Well, they said weather, they'll deal with weather as
Okay.
they go. They're contractors in Wyoming. They'll deal
Very,
with
very good.
weather as it comes.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it.
Chris, this was about 50%, wasn't it? It was a bit 130.
127,000. Big, yeah, 127,290.
So it's gonna be
this
broken
is
up into 2 payments.
Probably 3 or 4. This does, because there will be a 10% retainage that's withheld from every payment, so there'll be a final payment.
But they'll have this lump sum, and the next larger lump sum ought to be comparable to that. Yeah. Or is that up to them? how
It's
they
gonna
do it?
be up to how they do the billing. So there might be a initial, however long it takes them to do it for their work mobilization. There might be one payment, and there might be other payment for the actual work, and then there'll be another payment, fourth payment, so to speak, for the completion of the project, and then the retainage. So I had anticipated at least 2 more payment requests from Bighorn.
The retainage will be paid after acceptance of the job.
Ken, did they say how long it's supposed to take once they start? Is it a couple-week job, couple?
No, I think it was 28 or 32 days.
Great January project.
A little cold.
And February. Oh.
So you need a motion for that?
I need a motion for that.
So moved, we pay Bighorn Roofing the first payment of $48,363.95.
Motion been made by Councilman Zach. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Demick that we pay Bighorn Roofing payment invoice number 148,363.95. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed, all in the affirmative. Breakfast with Santa, cookies and cocoa with Santa. Could you address that, Chris, or who's?
believe Kathy's here.
Kathy, there. Could you, yeah, there we go. Could you come up and tell us about that, please, young lady?
Okay, I think so. I'm Kathy Blair, and we're gonna have the breakfast with Santa on December 11th, and it's from 8 to 10. We'll have Santa visiting with the kids, and the whole public is invited. It's not just for kids, adults too are welcome. So we'll have a good turnout.
I got 300 flyers over at the school.
Good.
So they're out spread out.
Get some. Good, but
The
yeah.
school was excited to get them to.
So this is December 11th,
December 11th,
and it starts at what time
8
again?
o'clock in the morning.
8 a.m.,
8 to 10,
8 to 10.
all you can eat. So
Accepting donations, or what are we doing, just free or
just a free breakfast.
free breakfast? Okay, very good.
Yeah, we'd like to see some adults there too.
Yeah, we
Senior citizens, whatever.
like to see, like to see a lot of people turn out. Free pancakes.
Kathy, was there any discussion with the fire department on this?
The town and guys are gonna do it with the old fire truck, is that right?
Buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we did last year.
Got that old truck, like, the old, what was it, a 57 or whatever, and that's how we did last year, Brent Santa Claus up here.
So we don't, so the fire department doesn't need, we don't need to worry about anything on our end. Okay, we have, our meeting's next week, so. But Scotty's got a ride.
They got it rigged up just
Yep.
perfect for him.
Very, very good. Thank you. Appearances, move on, I guess, to, pardon? Oh, cookies and cocoa, that's a separate, that's that evening. then.
Right. No,
That's a
So
separate-
this is on the 18th, the
Yeah.
following Saturday
Oh, okay, excuse me.
at 6 o'clock at the town plaza.
What's it, say that again?
Cookies and cocoa with Santa.
Okay, so this thing isn't all the event for the pancake.
Correct. That's
That's
why,
it.
that's
Did we
why,
need to
yeah,
specify that? Did, we specify that on those flyers that we took into the school?
that's right. That's what's on these. If you gave them these flyers, that's what's on
The
the
flyers
flyers.
came from town hall, so
Then, yep, they're specified.
I don't think that's them, Kathy. You?
What?
Are those the same flyers?
Go down.
Yeah, say it, Tom.
No, go to the other one. Up, up, up. That's what I
That's,
gave you.
that's all I have. I don't have the other ones, so.
Okay.
Well, we can get you those.
That's not your fault. So I was just asking on the pancake.
That's why they're on.
I
here.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Who's hosting this?
So the town's hosting this. Like
Meaning
last
you?
year.
I mean, are you the designate? Is this falling under
Well-
what you're gonna do, kind of like what you've done on some
Well,
of the
Buddy will be
projects?
there. I mean, you know,
Santa's
we will be facilitating it.
Santa will be helping.
I'll be there. It's just like we did last year.
Correct.
We had a big turnout last year. Hope we have as big this year.
It was fun too.
There was over 70 people there with 15-degree weather drinking cocoa with Santa.
God, I hope it's not that cold this year.
I hope it's warm. But that's what we had is 15-degree weather last year. Over 70 people showed up. So
I think Buddy said his two employees were gonna come as elves, I think, right?
What's that?
Your two employees are coming as elves, right?
Sure.
Okay.
You got the costume, right?
yeah.
I'll get the costume. You gotta get it on them though. And the other thing that Buddy and his crew actually went and got a Christmas tree earlier today and installed it at the, I think it's up at the park now, right? Okay. So- We were gonna do a tree lighting for the town to participate in. And it's not on this, but we were trying to get a date to put it on. 18th of December was kind of late, pointless. So it's not on the flyer, but the 11th of December, I believe, is what we were shooting for that evening after the breakfast with Santa.
That's sort of going along with breakfast with Santa and cocoa, breakfast with Santa and cocoa with Santa. Because special meeting, we can't talk about anything that's not on the agenda.
It is.
Okay,
So it's going to be the breakfast with Santa will be the companion tree lighting that evening.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. I thought it was.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't explain
yeah,
it
got to
right.
tie the two together.
So, it's not on the flyer, but after, on the December 11th, after the breakfast with Santa that evening, believe 5:30. In the evening, we'll do the tree lighting at the town plaza that evening. And I'm sure we'll have some refreshments provided and things like that at the time. But
We'll
I'll
make
update-
it a December 11th, a good full day.
Yes,
Lots going on.
I'll update the flyer too and put that on there.
Now, we ready to go to appearances by citizens? Verna Barron, Senior Housing, would you please come up and speak?
Council and mayor. Some have stated senior housing is so important. I would like for you and the community to know the problems that I have had. On September the 2nd, I ended up with no hot water. I stated that it's probably because there was water running underneath the floor of my apartment. They did come, they checked. The hot water heater was under warranty, so nobody could touch it. And they really had no interest in getting it fixed as far as the attitude that I was receiving. And so they finally got a hold of the hot water heater people that had the warranty on the hot water. When those young men worked on the hot water heater, put the new part in it, they knocked on my door and they said, we put a new part on, but it's not going to work very long because the hot water heater is sitting in a pool of water. I told him I wasn't surprised because the sprinkler system, when it kicked on in that one setting, ran the water down the floor. So then Labor Day happened. So I was without hot water from September the 2nd to September the 9th. Thank you kindly for consideration of the people in the seniors housing. They did install me a new electric hot water heater because they knew they couldn't put a gas one in there because gas hot water heater is not going to work. It's in a puddle of water. Then on November the 22nd, sometime during the night, my furnace quit working. It was cold enough in the apartment, it woke me up. So I looked at the clock, it was 5 o'clock. I called Chris, the senior housing director, and told him I had no heat. He said, they'll be out in the morning to fix it. And I says, it's already morning. And then I asked, what time? Sometime after 8. Well, thank goodness for Buddy and his crew. They showed up a little before. But meantime, I had turned on my oven at 425 degrees, set in front of it for a couple hours, and the oven never got hotter because I got a thermostat inside at 125. But I was keeping kind of warm. And there again, the city guys did not know how to fix it. I understand that. Not everybody knows everything. Sometime during the day, they did get somebody in to work on my furnace. I went to town where it was warm. And I thought it was working right until sometime between 7 and 8 o'clock, I realized it wasn't. I made a list for a whole hour of what it was doing. And it never ran more than 7 minutes to do the whole thing. The blower would come on, no heat. Blower would go off. Heat would come on with a little bit of blow. 2 minutes later, the heat went off. And then it recycled. Every few minutes. So at 9 o'clock, I called City Hall and told them my furnace was not working right. It was kind of keeping the apartment warm, but not really. And the gentleman came out. I showed him my list of an hour. He says, oh, that speaks volumes. And he went down, he put another new part on the furnace and readjusted. And he says, if this does not work, please let me know again. Very cooperative, very conscientious. And I'll say the same thing about the gentleman that came with the electric hot water. But as far as a resident of the senior housing thinking that we have a nice senior housing, and I've heard comments from other people, but oh, I'm not going to say anything because I might get kicked out. And I've been threatened to be kicked out because I speak out. But I don't think that the comment of senior housing is very important is ever indicated to the residents. Thank you.
I would like to respond.
Please do, Chris.
So going back to September on the water issue, when you first brought it to my attention, I immediately contacted Buddy and spoke with Jamie, who went out and looked at the problem that you stated. He reported back that this is an issue. It's under warranty, that because it's under warranty, we didn't know the full gravity yet of what the problem was with the couplers is what was out. And so we went down that route as we're supposed to do. The company came out that installed it, that was under warranty with, and stated because of the water and the way it was constructed originally, that they're not responsible for the warranty on that. And so what we had to do was find a new water heater. The problem with that was we didn't have one that would fit in that unit that was in stock right there. We could ready to get that day. We didn't have any other option. We ordered it. Jamie came back out, relit the water heater, made sure it was running for a brief time. Saturday, hold on, just let me respond, please. Saturday evening, you called me and said it went back out. And this was about 10 o'clock at night, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly what time it was when we were having the concert down at the park that you called me. So I then talked to Jamie that night and said, can you please go out there first thing in the morning on Sunday, his day off? He did, because that was what needed to be done because it was a priority. He said, I got it lit. I don't know how much longer it's going to hold, but it's lit for now. Then when you came in and you spoke to me in town hall with your son, I said, we have an open apartment that you can use that hot water in until the unit comes in and can be installed. That's the best we can do. I did every effort to make sure you had hot water. You had access to hot water in that other apartment until the 9th when it was installed back in your apartment. Now, if it's not important for me to make sure that you are given as best service as I possibly can provide within the limits of my knowledge, I gave you my cell phone number. Everybody. You called me and it wasn't 5 o'clock. It was before 5.
No, it was not. It was 5 minutes after 5 because
I texted Buddy. So I'm not gonna split hairs, but I was up till 3 o'clock that morning doing work. I still answered the phone. And I was respectful. I said, I will get them out there. I said by 8 o'clock, just because I don't know what is on their list of things to do that morning, but I would make sure they were there by 8. And as you stated, they were there before 8. Now, as far as that goes with Buddy's crew, they're not HVAC certified. There are certain things they can do, and you did acknowledge that. What was wrong with it was the motherboard was out. And so when that was replaced, it started working, but the reason it wasn't cycling properly was because your high limit sensor was also out, it had to be replaced. And so it was tripping that high heat sensor when it was factoring in. That's what they had to come back and replace a second time. It's a huge priority to make sure that every senior citizen in there has what they need. Other senior citizens that have been in those apartments, when their heater goes down, when their oven goes down, buddy tells me it's down, or you tell me it's down, I say, we need to get this replaced. It's replaced. When your air conditioning goes out, it gets replaced. There's no questions asked. There's no, well, we'll have to talk about how we're going to pay for this. It gets replaced because that is what is in the contract, that we will replace those units as they go down. And that's what we've done every time. And I wish I could wave a magic wand and fix everything right away for you. I can't do that. I can't go back in time when they constructed that and weren't having the foresight of putting the hot water heater below ground where the water runs through, and I can't fix that. And so that's what we're trying to address, is these things and get up to code. One of the things that I'm trying to do, because I do take this seriously, is that I'm putting in a plan for rehabilitation, remodel of every single senior housing unit that is on there. Those are 25 years old. Things go down over time. Why do you think every September, every October, when you call the Summit Heating, any HVAC specialist, they're all booked out? Because everybody's heaters go down. Everybody's, not everybody literally, but a large population all at once, because they're not being serviced or used all year long. It's a common thing. And I wish that we had more professionals here that could service those things and do what you need to get done for them. But unfortunately, we have to contract out. And sometimes there is a delay that we can't prevent. Now, I would ask that I would state that when you called me, you said it was 68 degrees in your house. So that may be cold for you, and it needs to be done. But I think it's a little disingenuous to say that it was freezing, like it was that cold, that it was something that.
Cold enough that woke me up in bed.
I understand that. But I'm just saying that we did everything we possibly could. If you would have said it's 50 degrees in your apartment, we probably would have got you room somewhere else until we get it resolved. That's my
Well, I didn't
point.
Get any, back to the hot water heat, and that's the big.
Could you please,
Right there.
could you please come here and speak? So everybody can hear.
Back to the hot water heater. It was on Wednesday. The hot water heater went out on a Thursday. It was the next Wednesday that you offered to let us go shower in apartment F.
Because we thought we were getting it resolved to get it going back on. When it became apparent that that wasn't going to happen is when that came up.
And it wasn't gonna be apparent between the 2nd and the 6th.
I didn't know if they
That
could get it running in time until we get a new replacement unit in. That's what they were trying to do, is get it running so you continue to have hot water in your home until, but when that became apparent that that was not feasible to happen is when you came and talked to me and I said, okay, it's not coming back on. We're not going to have this until then. And that's when that plan was made.
It wasn't feasible, that it wasn't gonna work, because the gentleman told me.
Well, it's easy to
that
say
it
in
was
hindsight.
Not going to work on Friday. It worked for less than 24 hours. When Jamie lit it, it didn't even get the water lukewarm. That was on Sunday. That was reported in this building. Jamie works in this building. So I was expected to live the whole Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday without hot water.
Well, obviously not. If when you came and talked to me on Tuesday, I said, you can
No,
use
it
this
was
water.
not Tuesday, it was
That was-
Wednesday.
That was not the expectation. The expectation was that we'd get it running for you. We came
Well,
up with an alternative solution when that
My
wasn't
point
possible.
is that I was with 7 days without hot water. And I had the feeling that 90% of the people didn't give a damn.
We wouldn't have gone out there 4 times if that wasn't the case. I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's not true.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I feel like it is.
I'd like to inject just a little. That's a specialty hot water heater. There's none local, never one nothing, one local. But we'll
Well, and
probably
I
address that
realize-
much
and I
better than
realize
everyone.
that not everybody can fix a hot water heater or a furnace.
But please speak.
Yeah, the situation on that hot water tank is when it was installed, it was a regular, fairly tall hot water. I didn't measure it out, but it was a taller hot water tank. What they had done when they put it in that crawl space, they dug a hole and set the tank inside that hole. And yes, there is an issue with the sprinklers coming in to the crawl space. It was never sealed on the outside, which is none of these guys' fault, not our fault, you know. So yes, there was water that set in on it. Okay, I think I was in Denver at the time when all that was going on with my wife. So when I got back, they told me what had went on. Jamie replaced the thermocouple in it. It still wasn't working. I went down there myself. Noticed that yes, it had been underwater. It wasn't underwater at the time, but it had been, you know. Of course, it shelled it out. It was under warranty, but under something like that, that's not a warranty, you know. So that's when I went and searched for a hot water tank. They will not install another hot water tank like that. We had to special order a smaller for a crawl space. So that's when it was decided that you would use the other apartment to give you hot water in the meantime, because we had no other option. I mean, we ain't in the business of selling hot water tanks ourselves, so what was we supposed to do, you know?
Well,
I
and
don't-
I understand a lot of that, but I really do.
I ain't a gas guy and I'm never gonna attempt to be one, because I don't want something going wrong down there. Same like I told with the electrical, I will not do electrical. I know my boundaries and I ain't gonna, you know, sad to say, have somebody perish in there after something that I did wrong, that I have no clue on, so I ain't gonna step forward, you know. So we got in contact with somebody for what they would do, you know. Same with the heat. Chris was right. At the time, good luck getting somebody in. I mean, I had one that was like 2 weeks out for City Hall. We sat here in City Hall with no heat. And I was like, wow, this is get bad. So I attempted. I ain't a boiler guy. We went down there. We gotta go. I mean, look, you know, but it, you know, that's just the way it was. I mean, it's not the town's fault, not our fault. I mean, it's just, you know.
Well, I will say, the senior housing where I came from, if there had been no hot water heater over Labor Day weekend, the person in that apartment would have been offered a place to live that had hot water, and that was never done.
When you was offered a place that had hot water, not just
Just
hop,
the-
skip and
just
jump
the-
away.
just
though.
the-
I mean,
Just the
so,
day before.
I mean, we can
I got
argue
the
this
hot
out,
water.
but that's just what happened. I mean, you know, and yes, the heater, I got a hold of the guy for the heater. He went down there. I was right there with him. It blinks a code. I called him up, told him what the code was. He come over. It was blinking total wrong code, saying what it was. It was totally something different. So he changed the motherboard. We thought it was all good. Then we get the call that it wasn't. I mean, so it's not really on any of us. I mean, and it's not really on that guy either.
No, it
But-
was not, and I'm not complaining about the furnace,
I mean,
near as much as I'm complaining about being 7 days without hot water and not even being offered the apartment F to even go wash dishes in, take a shower in, nothing.
That's what I was saying, is that the attempts were made and the belief was that the water was shut off, the water was no longer rising, that they could get it functioning until we could get it replaced and you'd be able to maintain it. That was the hope, and that's why there was a delay, is that we were trying not to upset your livelihood as far as that leave your apartment to get hot water. That's what we were trying to do. And when it was apparent that that was just not going to work out, we found a different option. But it, you know, the seriousness of it, I texted Buddy that, I don't know, 5:17, somewhere in that morning.
5:20. I looked up the message in a morning.
So, I mean, I think I take it pretty seriously. If you don't believe that, I don't know what else to say, but I do. I think the
That's
facts speak
correct,
for themselves.
because We show up at 7:30 in the morning, we go check the wastewater plant, wells. That day, we met at the shop, I told them, guys, we gotta get over it. I mean, it was before we jump on the other stuff. So, I mean,
And I appreciate that.
well, and that's why I say, I mean, it's kind of a, you know, a kick when you say that it's almost like a pound of dirt about that, which is totally false. I mean,
Well, there's a few of you that do.
wow, yeah, I
But
think the
there's
whole
more
bunch
that
of, and
The more that give the attitude
Every one of
that
them I
they don't care.
talk to, I mean, I'm gonna tell you they do. I would not blow smoke up the rear end about that. But every one of these guys that I've ever talked to about sitting housing, along with me and my guys that I work with. So, I mean, sorry that you have that feeling, you know, but like Chris said, it's false. It's false, you know. I've never had
You wanna live
one.
in my shoes for a while?
I've never had one of these guys.
My house is 65.
Anyway, we can argue, but
Okay, thank you.
Pretty much.
Appreciate it.
Connie, before you leave, I have a question. Do any of the other apartments have that same issue of water in the crawl space with the furnaces or the water heater? Have you checked that out?
no, they don't. This has been an issue on, clear back when Rex was there. But I had to hold him dirt in there to put up against the foundation, trying to get the water away from the building. That was, gosh, 7, 8 years ago.
Okay, I'm just looking
You
at
know,
preventive maintenance, so
Right.
that there's this won't happen again.
and actually, to be honest, I mean, it's gonna cost money, but they need to seal them, that brick crawl space to keep that water out of there. You know, I mean, or we can just go to a rock garden and do away with the grass. I mean, I'm at between a rock and a hard spot. You water the grass. Just let it
Well,
go
you
back,
answered my
and
question.
it's filtering it. Yes.
Okay.
So, but it's been, like I said, at least 7, 8 years ago that Rex was working on.
Thank you.
That situation.
Well, it sounds like a proactive approach to the situation. And in lieu of living on the island of Shoshoni, Wyoming, it seems to me, like I said, I look at what we deal with on stuff. Something goes down on a truck. It would be nice to live in Salt Lake where there's 5 dealerships, but we've learned you just adjust to, they say it's going to take 5 days. You say, well, I got to have a truck. And they say, go to Denver and rent one if you. But
Correct.
I think it's nice that the concerns have been brought up and it's given us an opportunity to say, maybe there's something we can do. This question about preventative maintenance. So fortunately, it wasn't in January. It's good news. Right?
I mean, I certainly have lived without hot water, and lived without heat through an ice storm. I was with my children in my bed. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have the option to have a heater in Oklahoma when I was in the military. And 7 days without heat, running water, anything. I know what it's like. I can definitely understand the frustration. But I just take issue with the laughter, I guess, that I do care.
Let's move forward. Permits. Thank you. Alcohol consumption, Letha Henderson.
There it is. This is the, I believe it's the painting. At
No,
the,
this is word party,
oh yeah, for Christmas party, yeah. I believe it's at the Shoshoni.
red party.
Yeah, okay, yeah, still at the record.
What date is it?
December 6th,
December 6th.
from 6 to 8 PM.
And what are they consuming? They say.
Wine and malt beverages.
Okay. Any of the council have an issue with that? None being, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Been moved by Councilman Weaver, seconded by Councilman Zant, that we approve the alcohol consumption for Letha Hendrickson. On the 6th, between 6 and 8.
Correct.
All, any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion passed, all in the affirmative. Building permit, 405 California Street, Confidence Builders.
And this is for their office, or not their office building, but the remodeling that
this apartment.
apart, yeah. next to their office. I believe they put the actual floor plan of what it'll look like when it's done.
Took me a minute because I kept comparing the two sites and.
Yeah, I can just give you the one side,
I
the other
don't
side's a
get it.
mirror
What
image.
What are they doing? They started digging down. And I thought, oh, that makes sense. I remember that picture having the porch on it. So the one on California, so that's intended to be a rental or
It's a duplex.
Yeah.
Duplex.
either for rental or housing for employees or whatever.
That's not a modular.
Pardon?
It's that old modular.
Yes, yes. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Councilman Weaver, move building permit 405 California Street. Can I have a second?
Second,
Second by Councilman Demick. Any further discussion?
My question is, this, they said this is on lot. Is this, because I taught in the other building years ago, that's right next to it, they have their, for their office,
Right.
and I don't know the distance between the buildings. And they never specified for it because that other building comes out on the corner. And I don't know for the setbacks on the, between the buildings.
I think they're already built.
They're already built, yeah.
So I
So
don't,
that's something, I don't know, I'll approve it, but that's something we should be aware of, close on, is it the 5 foot
Yeah.
distance between the buildings or the property line from one lot to the next lot?
Well, that's the same issue that we will have to run into over on the west side or the east side with that, the alleyway that was not setbacks were there, were the fencing went up.
Yeah,
So I guess I'll get with Buddy. We'll get back with you on exactly what that.
yeah,
looks like.
so I have no problem with proving them, I know because the buildings are there, so you can't do anything about it. Unless you want to move them.
But I can get back with you on clarification on it.
I'll go talk to Mike about it tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
any input on that, Marshall, at all?
I don't know anything about the building, so. I mean,
Okay,
I use it. I guess if it's something that could be corrected.
It can't,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, without moving the
and they
building.
own the
Yeah.
property, both properties, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still up to you. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's,
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue myself.
well, yeah, there's I don't know how long that building's been there. If it's been out of code of ordinance, you have only so many years to counsel the order of correction, so I don't.
Yeah,
Thank you. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, building permit on 405 California Street, Confidence Builder, say aye.
Right?
Aye. Opposed, the same. In the affirmative, everybody in the affirmative.
and these are their 5 foot setbacks, so it's okay.
Building permit for 407 4th Street, Confidence Builders.
And this is for that.
It's a house.
Yes, the house, they're next to the one that they're digging.
This is
Say
how
that
they
again.
dug.
when they've just dug for this
Right.
permit.
Correct,
Right,
yes.
Right.
And there's the floor plan on that house. 3 bedroom
3 bedroom, 1,400 square feet.
with a garage.
Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Been moved by Councilman Demick, seconded by Councilman Zant. Approve the building permit on 407 4th Street for Confidence Builders. Do you have any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Votes the same. Motion passed in the affirmative, all in the affirmative. Thank you. Department head reports.
Just touch on the grants a little bit. The BRC grant through the Wyoming Business Council has been reviewed and recommended in subcommittee for award to the full Wyoming Business Council Board meeting on December 9th.
That's grants,
Or grants. Wow, okay.
right?
Yeah, that's grants.
Correct, correct. Thank you.
I left out the feasibility study was also recommended. Without recommendation for construction attached, so it would be just a feasibility study, not actually building anything from the town's perspective. Both will go before the full Wyoming Business Council Board on December 9th. I did kind of touch on the ARP funding, on the availability, which would be for various grants. The applicability to Shoshoni will be evaluated over the next few weeks, but I do anticipate that infrastructures are the main focus, and all three of those boxes are checked in Shoshoni: sewer, water, and broadband. And they all will be looked at to see what we can go for and get more clarification here in the next few weeks on that. As far as personnel, I've been in the process of reevaluating processes for the town administration, trying to look for ways to further streamline and refine, and also for future consideration of position needs. The intention will be to advertise in January to fill the vacant position, possibly as a part-time position as opposed to a full-time position, depending upon how things are able to intertwine as we redistribute and reorganize some things here in town hall. Since we did talk about senior housing, I will point out that senior housing is approaching 25 years of use and numerous aspects need improvement. Currently, a rehabilitation plan is being pursued to remodel and upgrade the existing housing units. The cost of utilities are included in the monthly rent and do not approach a sustainable future when factoring in upgrades and replacement costs. The average rent when utilities are included results in $23,040 being available in revenue per year if all units are occupied throughout the year, which also must maintain, upgrade, and replace for 12 units per year, which equals approximately $2,000 per unit per year roughly. That's just the gross, not factoring in anything else. That also is without considering the other general maintenance costs. As an example, if the rent is $335, the on average bill over the last 2 years per unit averages out over the year to be $170 per month, which is included in that rent, which leaves 165 months in actual rent being paid per senior citizen. The maximum allowable rent for low home rent limit through HUD, formerly called very low income, which is under 40% of the median income average, is $849 per month in Fremont County. I'll pull this up right here. And so the home rent program includes utilities, or you have to include the maximum rent is a combination between the utility allowance and the actual rent cannot exceed that, whether it's included or just an allowance. For a 2-bedroom, it's $849 per month is the maximum they can be. We're currently at $335. Even for a 1-bedroom, it's $607. At this time, I'm bringing just the reality of the attention to the council. I will and have been working with HUD and regional private communities for available options before any recommendations are made to begin addressing this situation. There is the possibility of rental assistance funding mechanisms that would also be explored, which could maintain rents at their current levels. If they are available, would provide revenue to subsidize the town for the lower costs to maintain and improve existing housing units. The point in all this is that the rehabilitation is needed, is known, and is being explored, and not just explored, it's being planned out to be able to facilitate that, but it costs money. And $23,000 a year for 12 units to replace refrigerators, ovens, air conditioning, heaters, just that alone, not to mention the facility maintenance, all the other things, the pesticides, maintaining the grass, if you want to have grass, all those different things that come into play. And I will also note that when I took over the clerk position actually took 10% of the rents received as for administrative costs. I do not take that. So when the question comes, do I actually care about the senior citizens? I would say, yes, I do.
Well, this seems go for broke for me, but
Hey, Chris, on the utilities, you said the average is how much?
170,
That's for their heat?
heat and electricity.
Heat and electric per month average.
well, that doesn't include water
Well,
or sewer.
since the town owns it, it kind of does not get billed,
Do we have water meters on them though?
not that I'm aware of.
Then we can't. I mean, that's something that Jim Gore's talked about, is making sure we have everything metered, so we know how much we use.
And that's exactly part of it. And that's,
Yeah.
needs to be done.
But your mechanism, it would be fair to add $60 to your number as far as going off from a study saying, is that right? You say, well, it's 30, approximately $30 for this, $30 for that.
Yeah, I'm just bringing this to the attention just for discussion purposes, that these are needs that need to be met, as was pointed out. But they also face reality on what we can do with the existing structure that we're faced. So we have to find solutions to be able to do it within what we can do.
In your rehabilitation project, if it was, I would assume 10 grand per unit would probably go a long way, but that's 120,000.
I'm ballparking, we're about 400,000.
I make nice places over there. You can add a roof, another level.
Well, there's some things that need to be completely redone, as was pointed out with that situation with the heater, just that need to be brought up. Some of the appliances need to be replaced. That's would be part of that upgrade and remodel portion, which would be, there's monies out there through HUD and also the ARP fund that we can utilize for that. And so that's what I'm looking at, trying to get that done, but it still doesn't solve the fundamental problem of sustainability.
And we've replaced this year, or I might be thinking the last 2 years, but refrigerators, stove, air conditioning, heater, 2 air conditioners. And when this started, we're seeing the age of this and started going out, we decided we need to look at, instead of piecemeal and changing one at a time and can't find parts, can't find fridge or stove or air conditioners. I went over looking for an air conditioner. I got the last one that I could find in Riverton. It wasn't a good exact fit, but it worked. We was able to get that. But they were all sold out. Last one I could find in Riverton. I called Casper, look around for air conditioners. So best bet is upgrade them. Get everything where everything's up to code, everything's new, everything's gonna work. Roberta doesn't have her heater go down, or nobody else. They just, we need to upgrade the facility. And we're looking at ways to pay for that, because we gotta pay for it.
Just to put it in perspective, the water heater and the heater, those 2 bills was over $4,000 for 1 unit for just those 2 issues.
Annual.
No, that was
Oh,
what we
to
paid to
replace.
replace those,
Oh,
just in 1 unit. So when you say $23,000 is what's actually left over after utilities are paid for, that's my point, was just to bring that to the attention, the reality that the town isn't in this business to subsidize, it's in the business to help.
you're subsidizing.
But that's essentially what we're doing.
Hey, Chris, on those buildings, that's all natural gas, right? That's out there?
No, I think they're all electric.
It's all electric?
Or which ones are they, was a combination on the 2 that went up? Yeah.
So on, I guess, your average rent, what's the average rent out there?
It's uniform rent at
Okay, how much is it?
335.
335.
Utilities included.
Okay, how high are some of the utilities getting out there?
We have 1 unit this month. The utility bill was, just the gas bill was $292.
The gas was?
Yeah, for
Gas?
Gas, natural gas.
for 1
My
unit.
big house, I don't do that.
Mine either.
Well, the town, comparatively, the heating bill for the town was 180.
I want to go hang out there.
Yeah, that's
So-
gotta be freaking,
But I will
Beach
say,
weather.
I will say that's more of an anomaly than the norm, but that,
that's still uncalled for. It's not even a cold winter.
so. That's being monitored and that'll be part of whatever comes out of this because obviously, some don't think about it. They're not having to pay for it, I guess, and they don't think about it. Others do. But it's not as cut and dry and as simplistic as it sounds, but
Mhm. No, it's just.
I really am
kinda
doing everything
shocking.
I possibly can to make this successful.
No, all your numbers are based on all units, all 12
All
units.
12 units.
Okay.
I guess it's one of those things, I mean, it's a hard conversation no one's gonna want to have, but with the increase in amenities will come an increase in cost. And so you will have I can't move the raising my rent, but I think what you're presenting is, if you went back to your $400,000 number, you're 30,000-ish, a little more than that per unit for renovation. And
Well,
you bet
it is a revenue generating entity, just like the enterprise funds are. So the town can facilitate through loans based on the assets, but when we have $23,000 for the whole year, we're not gonna qualify for anything. So it's just not sustainable. It's just like anything, you can buy a brand new car and not have any cost to maintain it for 3 years. Well, what happens in year 4, year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9? You have to start factoring that in at some point to sustain it. And that's just the reality of what we're facing.
Well, I think especially when you take that and compared to, when the town is looking at like their water bills as an example, as far as nobody likes the change, but in the grand scheme of things, you say, well, gosh, we're still bottom of the barrel on.
I didn't like the
stuff.
change. I lived in Perry's house and he waters the lawn a lot.
A lot.
I had to pay it. But yeah, you're right. It's just the reality. The question is, how do we address it? So that's, I guess, was just informing the council of.
Just trying to be open and transparent and bring this out to the public and
Sure.
everybody involved. This is what we're faced with, what we're looking at. But, we need to upgrade senior housing. We need to upgrade it so we don't have things breaking down all the time and people without heat or without hot water. We none of us like that. A lot of this stuff is got well over 20 years or 25 years of life out of it. There's a lot of it needs replaced. And I think we really need to look at, looking at all of them and upgrade all of them.
I'm thinking of, they were not built all at the same time. Some of them are, I think there's a 8-year difference. So
About how much different?
I want to say an 8-year difference. between-
No, about a year and a half.
Year and a half, I thought it was longer than that.
No, about approximately a year and a half difference.
Okay, I know Rick Claproth was mayor at that time.
Yeah. 1 year and a half difference.
Okay. So they're all,
So the life cycle would all be approximately the same.
So, yeah, they're, very close.
okay.
I think it's a fair conversation to have. It'd be no different than if the town goes through some catastrophic well situation and we have to,
Right.
we just don't have a pile of cash sitting in
But
the middle of
Chris
nowhere.
brought up a very valid point. We need to treat this, and we're supposed to treat this as an enterprise fund. It's supposed to support itself. Our water is supposed to support itself. Our sewer is supposed to support itself. And the senior housing should support itself, not be subsidized from general fund of the town. And we're gonna be replacing stuff pretty soon, and it's gonna, we just ate a couple years rent on one, just replacing heater and hot water, Hank, $4,000. That's more money than we wait 2 years of rent. You know what I'm saying? That's where where we're at. And I don't know how to control the utilities, but some of that is relatively high. I think we had at least 4 that were all pretty high, higher than my house. My house is a little over 900 square foot, I think, but something like that, but it's, we have four of the 12, I believe, was relatively high.
Well, I think that'd be great, at least have in the renovation process, either restructure some of those things that I'm an advocate of accountability, and there, if you want to run it at 90 degrees, no problem, but just comes at a price. It's no different. You want to eat steak or hamburger, and it's fine. You buy your meat.
Sure. Possibly X amount of months utilities, you go over X amount a month.
No different than the water situation. The same
Correct.
thing. You
Exactly.
say this is what's funded into the account. You get X dollars for heat, X dollars.
And
for
that's
that.
where that utility allowance that I was referring to can be a component of, like those rent controls.
Right.
What they have is they have a utility allowance that,
Mhm.
but between the utility allowance and the actual rent, it can't exceed X amount of money. And that's where that factors in.
Mhm.
There's different options out there, but it's, we're gonna have
Something we gotta look
to, we're gonna have to address it sooner or later, and
Yeah.
Sooner than later, sure. I mean, you get to be accountable for any situation that happens at the drop of a dime. And so in fairness of saying, hey, this is a problem to the town to address it on both ways.
So we're trying to fix it. We're working hard. We do care. And we're trying to fix it. We're trying to make it better. But
that's all I had.
Public Works, please.
Start off with a question that you had earlier, Bob, to answer that one with Tammy's moat around her. The moat was taken care of. The alligator's
Did a
still
good
there.
job.
I know it's that. That's one thing I remember about her. When she came, she was polite and,
When I
you know,
piped
she
up,
brought
the
it out
alligator
and
still
it was
there.
nice, you know,
Yes, we did.
yeah, I've
That's
been back there, yes. And, you know,
You're
I don't
right.
see how you can fix that street just because drainage. I mean, it's in a bowl in many ways.
Yeah, we all some shoulder. There's drains down.
Yeah, I know there's,
Just
yeah.
getting it to the drain, but yes. That situation. But as we were saying, you know, today we went up and got the 20-foot tree for down there, plaza for the lighting the tree. Kind of got back late in that area in here. With screens and everything. But anyway, I just got a couple things to report on the equipment, you know, it's working good. Jamie with his water and wastewater license. We plan on getting down there this month to do his water test. Hopefully he gets it this time, he come real close to last time. So we're kind of concentrating just on the water test right now. Speaking of things going wrong on some of the town rental property down where Brandy, would she go by Hague or does she go by Ramage now? But anyway, down kitty corner from the rec board. I got a call 8 o'clock at night. Their sewer was backed up. Or it's that late at night, ain't a heck of a lot you can do. Went down and looked main line. So it was pretty pricey project because she had the old orange bird in there, totally full of roads. I tried to run snake down through it, and there was no go. So we finally had to dig it up, and of course, whoever put it in, put the water line right on top of the sewer line. So I snagged that too, copper line, but anyway, so $600 and some odd dollars later, we got that repaired. So there's another thing that in the future we need to think about, is putting some money off that rent back into something
Correct.
for repairs, so along with the senior housing. Couple things that we ironed out. Finally got a booster pump in for our chlorination system, a gas chlorination system to our wells. I had an issue with the vacuum. You got pressure, the booster presses water up and it runs through a vacuum, which actually sucks the chlorine, gas chlorine out, mixes it with water. But I did finally got a new vacuum, so that was really good. We did our last meter reads for this year. Spring will kick up again. I know we were talking about trying to read through the winters with a radio read. I'm still trying to iron all that out. Some people are saying the registers only have to all be replaced because they're not compatible. Talking to Census at Water Conference, no, they're compatible. So you just kind of late to do that, so.
Can we,
well, with that, we'll-
excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt
you're
you.
right.
I was just, can we get the parts now that we need to fix that, or can we get them next year?
Hopefully next year, I'm not gonna swear
Okay.
nothing, because it's, I mean, my booster pump, 8 months.
Yeah,
And when they finally called back and says it's in depth when I could get it, so I ran around, I finally got with the guy that used to work down there in Casper for a pump outfit that went out on his own. Joe, he got me one. So, yeah. That's when, you know, but we'll, I was discussing with Chris, we'll
right.
start working on it for next year, but this winter, we're gonna have to go to phase 3.
Okay.
Just the way it is. Yeah. Had the senior housing furnace problems on there. That's been discussed. Any questions on that? Do I got a spew to give here? So
So on your base rate, so when you say base rate, that's telling people to run their water through the winter time,
if need be,
every,
yes,
the trickle on it,
still,
Yeah,
we need to
not freeze up.
tape their lines, I mean, skirt the trailers, I mean, but yes.
but it only takes a trickle.
Yeah.
Facebook. Mudslinging going on about the town. And to me, after reading it, was really wasn't directed to the town, it was directed to me, and I took the insult to it. Everybody know. To want to run a water system, you just can't pull somebody off the street. I am a licensed level 1 water plant operator and a level 1 wastewater plant operator. The town is only a well and lagoon system. So when these people say that, how was it kind of put that we wasn't doing it right, I took insult to that very bad. These tests, I mean, these licenses just didn't give out. You test them. Every 3 years, for every license that you have 24 hours of training. It's through EPA, DEQ. It's not just anybody. Every year I go to a water conference to get my house. You know, I learn new things. I've worked water plant in Riverton. I worked a wastewater plant in Missouri. Them compared to what we got here, we got a lagoon, we got wells is totally different. So I do know what I'm doing. You know, I mean, I'm not perfect, but I do know. One of my biggest concerns is supplying a safe drink water for the community. That would be the last thing I want to do is make somebody sick. For them people that thought they knew, oh, your water plant ain't being run right. They don't know. We're not a water plant, we're a well. On that note, we have 4 water wells. We have a 500,000 gallon tank. The 500,000 gallon tank is clean. You can't go over every 8 years. Within 8 years, you have to have that cleaned. So it's cleaned within the 8 years. Well, number 2 was drilled in 1953, 640 feet deep is that well. The pump set at 320 feet, it produces 200 gallons per minute. Well, number 4 was drilled in 1978, 620 feet deep, pump set at 500 feet. It produces 125 gallons per minute. Our 2 newest wells, well 5 and well 6, was drilled in 1992. Well 5 is 1,051 feet, pump set at 420 feet. It produces 120 gallons per minute. Well, number 6, again, was drilled in 1992. It's 1,040 feet deep. Pump set at 400 feet, produces 280 gallons per minute. It's in the Wind River Aquifer. It's a sealed aquifer. We are not under the influence of Poison Lake. Referred to under influences. Poison Lake don't filter through into this aquifer. It's a sealed aquifer. So nothing gets in it. But what we pump out of it. We do chlorinate. We don't do nothing but chlorinate. That is required. It's not by my choice. It's not by Joel's choice, nobody's choice. It's EPA. 2, 5, and 6 is injected with a gas clone. Well, number 4 is a sodium hypochlorite liquid. chlorine. Here a while back, I brought up about my total coliform positive, and I announced the water was, it's not contaminated, that you can't drink it. That is a total coliform is a hit with the lab. I do back teas every month. I got hit with the total coliform positive, which meant that the conditions in our water was right for bacteria to grow. So that's why it wasn't that you couldn't drink. I had to run around and do a bunch more tests, send it back in and have it tested again. It had to come back E. coli positive or negative, not positive. But you definitely don't want to have an E. coli hit. Just a total means that the environment's right. That was due to low chlorine when my booster pump went out. I jumped over to well 4 to use a sodium hypochlorite, which is a liquid. It's only like 15%, which gas is 100% chlorine. So it takes a little more finagling with it to get it there. So anyway, like I said, I used well 4 to get the residual back up. So I could get total negative hit, which I did, got it all cleared up. The highest I ever got for chlorine was a 0.5. They wanted me to get it to a 1.5. That's milligrams per liter. The max that you can put in your water is a 2.5, which I've never gotten that high because I drink the water. I don't like drinking Casper's water because they do actually go through a plant and they chlorinate the heck out of it. So does rivers and that. But anyway, well, number 6, high in hydrogen sulfide gas. So it's off an egg smell. I know I've heard people, well, my water smells like rotten eggs. Well, yeah, it's hydrogen sulfide gas.
It's naturally occurring.
Yes, the town don't inject it in there. It's in the water. We recently had a water study to try to solve some of these problems. It also makes your water look like it's Alka-Seltzer. If you let it sit there, it'll dissipate eventually. You know, it's unpleasant, but it's water. All wells are high in dissolved solids. Well, number 4 is high in fluoride, because I also seen that post. Well, the town water rotting my teeth, you know. So we don't inject fluoride. Some towns do, but I don't know of any town right local around here that does. It's naturally in the water. You want us to take it out? Yeah, water bills will go up a lot more than what they are now. So some of the other things that cause a smell or taste in the water, and I've told people, I had one gal pull up concerned about her water. You know, I went up there immediately because I'm concerned just as much as she is, because that's the last thing I want to do. Like I said, make somebody sick. And like I told her, you know, our main lines are a C900 PVC pipe. It's connected with a brass fitting, a cork, so what you call it. It runs up to the curb stop, and it's all copper. Okay, from that point is a property owner's responsibility. They could have galvanized in there. That's not our problem. Galvanized mixing with the minerals that are in the water will also make it taste horrible or give you a discoloration, brown tint, whatever. And I had one of them just recently, and I went up there and visited with her. I tested for chlorine, and I showed her, you got chlorine, you know, so it's not that you can't drink it. And I told her it's probably galvanized pipe. Some of the other things on a smell of just in your hot water. If you got a real bad smell, rotten egg smell, you have an anode in your hot water tank. A lot of people don't know this. It extracts the minerals out of the water to this anode. You can replace them. Once you pull that out of there, they stink. But that'll cause a smell on your water too. They should be replaced. Like I said, they attract the minerals out of the water to extend the life of the hot water tank, you know, because it keeps it from eroding the hot water tank. Instead it collects to that anode. Okay, town of Shoshoni meets the primary drinking water standards. People's got to know that. I mean, it's not it's EPA in Denver that has control over our drinking.
That's what a lot of people don't realize.
You know, if I'm doing something wrong, I'm in trouble. That license does not say the town of Shoshoni on it. It says my real name, Cecil Boyle. I will be the one. There's been guys that have wrongfully done things to the water plant knowing that they did it. They went to prison for it. You know, so anybody that thinks I don't take concern in the drinking water in this town, got another thing coming. Because that's the last place I want to go. You know, I've been in this line for, God, when I first started with the town underneath Dawn, I was 20, I think. I've been in it since. I'm 52 years old. Like I said, I went from here to Riverton, worked the water plant. I went all the way down to Missouri, worked with activated sludge plant. I mean, I've been around. I'm not saying I'm the smartest, like I say, but you know, I do know what I'm doing. The town does do other tests besides a back D. Back Ds are every month. VOCs, SOCs, IOCs, volatile organic chemicals, you know, inorganic, nitrate, we test that. DVPs, disinfectant byproducts, you know, and that's one I've always didn't understand. Yeah, they force us to chlorinate our water. Now they're wanting to figure out what the effects of chlorine in the water, and that's a disinfection byproduct. But that's not a rule I made. I test for lead coppers, you know, which are, like I said, most of our water lines in town are PVC. Our service lines are copper running up to the curb stop. The lead and copper is in their house, you know, but we still test for it, you know. Like I say, back these every month. I put out yearly CCRs, which is a community confidence report. Every year by July, I have to have one of them printed out, and I have to have it sent to the EPA, and I have them sitting right up there. I've never had a single soul in this town come in and ask for a copy, not even stand there and read it. So people that get on, I'll call them keyboard warriors, and hack the town like they did. That was wrong. If you got any questions, come in and ask. I mean, I got a file cabinet in there full of all the records for water testing, you know, discuss it with me. Don't get on Facebook and start bashing people. That was pretty bad, you know. So I express for everybody, you know, every year come in with CCR if you want it, get a copy of it. We'll send it to you. Call Kathy or somebody will let me know. I'll make you a copy of it. The mushroom plant, for instance, they ask for all that. I mean, it's anybody can, it's public record. So don't get on Facebook and slam the past. Come in and ask. You know, so because on Facebook, you ain't gonna get an answer from me. I'll just read what you had to say and I'll ignore it. But that one right there kind of really upset. So person that actually really is not online. I wish they would have, you know. So, but anyway, let them know CCRs are out there. Come in and read them.
For one time you were testing for COVID in the sewer system. Are you still doing that?
Kind of relax on that.
Okay.
With the well situation, like I was telling, rural water's been on me too, and rural water's great. They help us. You know, they're kind of the cushion between us and EPA. But they were kind of pushing for me to hurry up and get on it. And like I told them, I said, I got wells that I got issues with. I'm more concerned producing water because you won't be able to pull a sample out of a sewer if you don't have water to run down. You know? So now that you brought that up, that's one other thing I'd like to touch on. I read other things about this council not continuing with our sewer lines, and I've discussed it with Joel. You know, if it's not broke, why fix it? I haven't had any issues with some of the sewers that's left. Whatever's left on that sewer replacement projects, you know. And like I discussed with Joel when he first came into office, was my concern is a water system, which we did. We got on it. We got a water study. But like I told Joel at the time, you don't have water coming to town, there ain't no use of having a sewer, because you ain't gonna have nothing going down. So I wanna mash that too. You know, they're just saying, don't wanna continue on. Yes, we do. But you got priorities. And like I discussed with Joel, the water system's one of my priorities, you know, so always has been. I always said, you know, I'm more worried about making someone in the community sick other than killing a little minnow down in Poison Brick from our sewer. You know, so, but like I say, MASH the one where you guys didn't continue with this replacement on the sewer. I haven't had issues with them. The trouble areas that I was have been replaced. But it's time to concentrate on the water system. Listen, you don't have the water. You know, what's the use of having a sewer? So that's two of them we got to manage so far off. You know, like I say, I read it on Facebook. So you guys got questions? Come in. Feel free. My office is right in there. You know, Kathy will call me up and say so and so's here to talk. Want to know something about the water? But there's other people that do it all the time. Like I say, CCRs. Read them. We will told you all about our wells, you know, what aquifer, what tests we have. If I've had a bad test, I have to publicize it. It's in there. So.
Yeah, I'd like to say we really appreciate the great job you do here in Shoshoni. And I feel that we're very fortunate to have somebody got the qualifications that you have, that wants to live in Shoshoni and love the town as you do and stay here working for us, because with your qualifications, you can go about anywhere. We don't need anybody with your higher qualifications to do the job in Shoshoni. And I just like to thank you so much for what you've done for us, what you continue to do, and how much you care about the town. And yes, I do listen to you.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things and I think our recent water study just shown we got some issues with our water lines, delivery systems and stuff, wells that we need to address, that's been neglected for years. Been neglected for years and years.
You look back at well two when that was drilled.
Yep.
By the barrel of wreck. And honestly, that is our best well. I can show you something too, when they get back then, they made them glass.
But there again, I know everybody in the council feels the same way. And I believe the vast majority of the citizens also do.
I appreciate my cup of coffee every morning, so I just wanted you to know that.
It's fine.
Like I say, I didn't get up here to beat my chest or anything, you know, but it's kind of insulting, you know, when someone says, oh, they don't know what they're doing. It wasn't the council, and maybe that's who they was directing, but they're not. I don't know, me and Jamie and Mike are the ones, but I'm the one in charge of it.
You're a
Well,
water
you know.
warrior.
Yeah.
Why it upsets you? Because you actually care what
I
you're
do,
doing.
I
You're
do.
proud of what you're doing. And you care for the citizens. If you didn't care, what the heck?
I mean, this is my third go around with town. I'd like to say I don't know the years that I worked under. Don.
Sure.
I left here and I went to Riverton, worked a water plant, you know, left there because of oil field, you know, better money. That's, you know, it wasn't so great. The steaks one day and beans the next. Plus I was going through divorce and I actually went to Missouri and I was down there for a month. And my resume that I put in there, I got a hit. It was Alliance Water Resources, and they go out and they find you. You know, you don't go to them.
Right.
And I had that job within a month with them. You know, and of course I came back. I had kids here. The town's always been a good job, and I've liked it. You know, I enjoy what I'm doing. So I just, like I said, yeah, I take insult and people
No.
kind of hack on a little town.
Yeah.
You know,
Justifiably so.
so
Justifiably so.
all right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yep.
buddy.
Thank you.
Yep.
I do see we have on our agenda any audience questions. We have anything from the audience? None being, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Been moved by Councilman Weaver. He's passed on that to adjourn. Can I have a second? Been seconded by Councilman Demick. Any further discussion? None being, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion passed, all in the affirmative. Thank everyone for showing up.
Sweet. Okay.